Hello, and welcome to another episode of Fake Awake Podcast with myself, Nathan Lucius, and my very good friend, Steve James. Hello, Steve.
Hello, mate, and cheers. And
Cheers.
cheers.
Right, hang on, hang on,
Cheers to
hang on. This is
YouTube.
this is very special. So, what are you drinking, first of all?
Well, I've got a couple of things tonight. That's just a beer. What is it? Moretti.
Ah,
So
it
I'm
looks
going to
like,
save this because it's quite pricey.
yeah, it is a bit. It
And
looks like you got a gangster on the front there. Looks
uh,
like the time of
oh
the
yeah,
prohibition.
it's like a mafia dude at the
It
front
is.
of it.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'll have to check the symbology of it. I think it's
Oh,
six point
I'm
six
sure it's
six
everywhere, mate.
percent proof as well.
Exactly.
I've also got sherry simply because it was looking lonely in the bottle. It needed drunk. So I've got
What is it again?
oh, it's just a cheap bottle of sherry, but it was right at the
Oh,
dregs. I'm like, well, it just needs to be finished off. So perfect. So
fair enough.
cheers, YouTube.
Well,
Cheers,
cheers.
Nathan.
Cheers, YouTube, watchers, observers, critics, mockers, beraters, new age. Why not? Anyway, I'll introduce you to what I'm drinking. So I've called this one Holly's Special Brew, and it's to help me sleep for reasons that we're going to come to in a minute. And speaking of prohibition and gangsters, I think this is classed as some kind of moonshine. Um, which you're going to see my reaction in a minute because it's got one hell of a kick to it. But my God, it's quite nifty. So if I'm drunk in about 10 minutes and asleep in 20, just keep talking over me. People will get used to the snoring. I'm just kidding. They never get used to the snoring. Right. So here you goes. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, buddy. And what did you say it
Ah,
is? Holly's Moonshine.
Holly's Special Brew, which which must be moonshine.
Is
So
it strong?
yeah, very strong. Yeah. So she's got an apothecary in Coventry, like literally full blown apothecary. She got bottles of stuff that she's collected over the last couple of years all herself, put it all
Right.
together,
You'll
and
have to
made
remind me what one of them is. I've
what an
heard the
apothecary.
yeah.
Let's if we call it like old world medicine.
Okay, right. That's not what
So,
I was thinking, but
oh,
that's
what were
me.
you thinking? What were you
I'm
thinking?
thinking I'm thinking it's something to do with plants, but not medicines. So yeah.
Well, I don't. I mean, I'm calling it medicine. I can't say what's in it because there's about 20 ingredients in it, and some of it is a bit interesting. If I get a psychedelic episode one
Oh
halfway
wow.
through, I mean, I'm not sure I can't even remember what they call it, but yeah, if I start tripping balls, I mean, it's getting recorded, so it'll make fantastic viewing, I guess. Um, just for the YouTube censors, I'm only joking. Trust me, I'm a doctor or an apothecist. Apothecist? I don't even know. I'm not any of that. Although, like Holly is a herbalist, so I guess that's like an old worldy medieval type witchy doctor type person.
Yeah,
Let's go for
I'm
that.
gonna guess she'll approve of us being drunken alchemists. I mean, I'm just a common or garden drunken alchemist, on a beer. Although it's a pretty posh beer, but
Oh, it is a posh bit, but you got sherry,
sherry, yeah, like a classic drunk, really.
mate.
Even
I
though
can't.
I'm not a drunk, I hardly ever drink, to be honest.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, this is at the minute. This is the only alcohol I've got, so and that's only because it's fermented and God knows what is. I don't know. Again, wrong person to ask, but the sherry, I can't drink that anymore
Mm,
because in my mid-teens I went for a cruise to Spain. One of these like ferry,
yeah.
four-day ferry cruises like to Spain and back. And obviously duty-free stuff over there. And sherry was I think it was the cheapest thing there at the time. I was just like, oh, I'll try some of that. And I did try some of that, and I got blind drunk on it, and now I can't touch the stuff because it
Oh, wow.
makes me a little bit. It's got a bit of a kick to it, hasn't it? So,
Yeah.
but anyway, there you go. So,
Hey, happy days.
yeah, something like that. Never get drunk on a ship, especially one where the waves are kind of like hoying you all over the place. I mean, it gets quite frightening after a while, but there you go. Right, it's been a while.
Taz, mate, what's tonight's discussion about? What do you reckon?
Tonight's discussion, we're going to mock and berate everybody. Why not? Or okay, maybe not everyone. I mean, you
Yeah.
can if you like. But right. So I've got it. I've put a bookmark in Fake Awake because we're going to go with a Fake Awake podcast. Hopefully,
Yeah.
get some Occult Academy podcasts going in the next couple of weeks and months because we've fallen behind on that. My fault because I've been busy and
Hey,
withdrawing, and well, I'll come to that in a
life
minute.
happens, mate.
It does a bit, doesn't it? So anyway, I've got it highlighted on cult formation psychosis. So in the book, it's chapter 13. So I reckon we should be looking at the hallmarks of a cult. And I mean, if you want to call it a religion as well, as far as I can tell, like a religion is basically a massive version of a cult. It's just a bigger version of a cult. And when we talk about the I'm gonna call it the truth movement for lack of a better word, but for reasons I think we're gonna come into, I think it's a bit of an odd title to give the truth movement at the minute because it neither deals in truth, nor is it moving. It's one of those things that seems to be stagnating at the minute. And one
Yeah,
of the things, well, it's, I mean, what, right. So one of the reasons I put that together in the first place, as you well know, well, I mean, you've helped me do it, so you've got just as much in there about this as I do. Is that in about 2023, I started noticing the decline of so-called truth and freedom activism, right? Which is it started to give way to what I can only refer to as psyops, cult mentality, petty disputes. We as a movement, if there ever was such a thing, decided that it would be much more advantageous if we ripped ourselves apart instead of allowing the elites to do it. I mean, so we can claim some autonomy there, I reckon.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so and again, this is not I've not done a disclaimer page for this one, but this is not necessarily to. I don't want to stand us down. I want
Yeah,
people to be
exactly.
rallied and
I mean,
motivated.
we've got to be self-critical in order
Yeah.
to, and all professional athletes will do this. All elite teams will be self-critical over the finest detail, depending on what they're doing and the type of encouragement that they need in order to progress further. And that's what we've got to look at
I
ourselves
think
as
that's
doing.
I,
So
I think that's fair. I mean, look, I mean, if we look at the subjects that we cover, in terms of psyops and rabbit holes and falling for misinformation and disinformation, I fell for a lot of it. So I'm not using this as some kind of position of superiority. I'm not. It's just that thankfully I managed to see through a lot of it because when they tell you to do your own research and to have an open mind and to think critically, I did that, which I tend to find a bit useful. You did that, and unfortunately, I think a lot of the movement thinks that they're doing that whilst actually not doing anything of the sort.
mm.
Um, we can talk
Mark
about the new age if
Passio,
you like.
who we both, admire and respect his work, and I'd like to think that more people in the truth movement will begin to appreciate his work and start to understand it in better
Mm.
detail. But he refers to that the progress being made by the truth movement as being on the hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be hamster, he calls it. Now, I'm not here to antagonize anybody, but he's got a serious point with and it is just a means of stagnation,
Mhm.
as you've correctly mentioned. If we're
Yeah.
stagnating, basically we're running round in circles on the hamster wheel. We need to get off it, and then we need to do
Yeah.
something productive with our time, effort, and our resources. And the best way to do that is to gain knowledge on how to do it. So, just as you've said, I've been on the hamster wheel. I've even been running backwards on the hamster wheel when I look at my, you know, past choices and career progression, etc., etc. But now that I'm come off that hamster wheel, I'd like to think that, well, the best thing you can do, even though, I'm not professing to be some sort of expert or a Jedi Knight or anything like that, but it's
Mm.
if I've got any little semblance of information that I can offer, well, if I've got the means and opportunity to do it, then that's what I'll do because it's the right thing to do.
That is probably one of the most potent things that you could say, actually. Do the right thing. We often talk about morality and ethics and solutions. I mean, effectively, it just comes down to that's what we're saying is do the right thing.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of that you got to figure out what the right thing is. You got there's a learning process to it, but effectively, that's all we're asking is to do the right thing, to stand on your convictions, to stand on your morals, and do it to the best of your ability. And we've all got different skill sets, we've all got unique points of view, but if we can't, put our petty differences aside and come together. What's the point? I mean, again, it's I wanted to title this one "Sleepwalking into Oblivion."
Brilliant. I
Um,
love that. Yeah, have that as a title. Sleepwalking into Oblivion.
yeah, but that's what it feels like. I mean, if you now, and everyone will see this. I mean, I was going to say you'll see it, but everyone will see this, and probably half of the people watching do it themselves, as I'm sure that we do a lot of the time, which is we now appear to be hooked on smart devices, smartphones and PCs and all the rest of it, but especially smartphones. I think that's done a massive number on ripping society apart. But what when you look around now, if you go on anywhere, if you just walk around, you're just going to see a sea of people looking at the phone, whether that's adults, kids, old people, young people, middle-aged workers. It doesn't matter. They're hooked on their phones. They're just absolutely
Yeah.
head down and transfixed into it. Which this is going to be an interesting one actually, because I want your opinion on this. With we know with this I guess social media ban that Lord Starmer and his you know, regal authoritarianism has now brought in to say that kids are not allowed to use social media. And we both know that there's a backdoor
Oh,
basically to censorship. That's what that is. It's basically
oh,
data collection and censorship.
has that come in? Has it? Sorry, mate. I have heard snippets of that, but I don't follow the news. So, but is that a thing now? Is it?
Yeah, it's a thing. I mean, it was never not going to be a thing. That look,
Oh, yeah.
so here's the thing. Here's the shortcut, right? Whenever these stories start hitting the alternative media or even the mainstream media, we know that if you go onto the United Nations website and look at things like Agenda 2030, you will see a lot of what they have planned. Right, and it's not I would say it's conspiratorial, but it's not a conspiracy theory. You can go and find this out for yourselves.
Mm.
Just go on the United Nations website and look at Agenda 2030. Then click the bullet points and then and see how they're going to do it and bring it in and see what their overall aims and objectives are. But the point is, whenever there's an announcement like this, they're going to bring it in because it's all part and parcel of a technocratic global agenda, if you want to call it that. And it is a global agenda because all the countries have signed up to it, pretty much. So when we're talking about digital ID and digital currency and complete loss of rights and freedoms, complete censorship, we're dealing with a communist dictatorship. It's presenting as a digital form of that. So it's a digital communist dictatorship. And a lot of the laws that people hear about and then they're discussing about and they disagree with, obviously. I mean, there's a lot of this that I disagree with. However, a little bit of a caveat to that is that when it comes to kids and under 16-year-olds not being able to use social media,
Yeah.
there's a massive part of me that agrees with that, and I suspect that's going to trigger a few people when I say that, but I've got good reasons for that, and it's not the government's reasons because obviously why would I ever agree with them arch criminals and gangsters? So I don't know. Tell me what you think about that, mate.
Yeah, a bit of a double-edged sword. Obviously, they're doing it for a reason, which, yeah, if they do everything for a reason, let's face it, and
Just a
everything
bit.
is to do with the manipulation and the collectivism of the entire human race in order to become subservient financial slaves to their digital, AI utopia, the
Yeah.
technocratic totalitarianism that they've got installed and implemented and running along nicely. They're doing, I mean, I'll give them 9 out of 10 for their efforts and achievements, to be quite honest. So
Just
hats
a 9 out
off.
of 10.
Just a 9 out of 10. I've got to
Yeah.
be. I think they could do a better job. I mean, for me, if I was a raving lunatic psychopath in a position of power, I would be a little bit more, let's see, right wing leading with a little bit more fascism injected in. Because and the reason I'm saying that is simply because I see how passive the human race is towards what's being achieved. I mean, I'd say there's almost no physical pushback whatsoever, bearing in mind
Right.
some of what they've done for me: high treason, war crimes, crimes against humanity, medical battery, all of these things, which to me they carry the highest of sentences. If you went down the sort of legal justice route, which I'm not interested in the slightest, because it's all based on man's law, which is a travesty. But
Just a bit.
regardless, all of these people, they're a travesty in of themselves, and they deserve the utmost, let's see, deterrent and whatever means necessary to stop them in their progress. I don't see any sign of that amongst the, let's say, the movement or the pushback from society or civilization.
Mm,
Therefore, if they wanted to be a little bit more harder on us, just like they've done in various countries, such as, let's say, Germany during World War
yeah.
II, etc. Red China, the Soviet Union, they can push back pretty hard, but they're not doing that. That doesn't mean they won't do that. It just
Can I?
means,
I was
yeah,
going to say, so I've been thinking about this specifically as well. When you just come across like tidbits of information. So my let's say YouTube algorithm is very exciting. It tells me something new every day, right? So, and some of it you kind of already know, but some of it you don't. But I've been thinking about this whole pushback thing and where we're going wrong. I watched a video earlier about falling levels of testosterone in men.
mm,
And obviously, right. So if we look at this. Bear with me, right? I'm going to go around in a loop, and I'm going to come back to it. Right. So we've got this with the massive feminist push, right? This whole idea of feminism, which is no longer feminism. It's an extreme form of feminism, right? So I don't think realistically anyone would have a problem with genuine feminism, right? But now what we've got is an extreme form of that, which
mm,
has had now a counter reaction in what's termed the red pill movement or the manosphere movement. Now,
yeah,
just again, I'm going somewhere with this. I think both of those are a massive psyop. I think they needed feminism to come in first, and then they needed the red pill manosphere to be a reactionary movement to feminism or the extreme form of feminism, right?
yeah,
And as part of that, there is a concerted effort to demonize men and masculinity. I don't really think anybody in their right minds could deny that. There is a concerted attack on masculinity, right? You're toxic man, you're mansplaining, you're manspreading,
mm,
all of this stuff, right? So not to go into at the minute the again, I see it from both sides, and I understand why it's happening, and it is a psyop. But then there's an element of that people tend to forget, which is that masculinity itself is under attack, which is you look at the stuff they're spraying out of the skies. You look at the stuff they're putting in the water. I mean, just take fluoride for example. You've got that in your toothpaste. You've got it in table salt. You've got it in your tap water and things like that. Well, one of the things that fluoride is known to do over long-term use is to make people docile, to make them passive. Right, so that's one thing. Then we've got massive amounts of BPA. So you've got plastic bottles primarily, which anybody who's using a plastic bottle, you're going to be absorbing microplastics, these tiny little particles, and they've got BPA in, and the BPA's in things like microplastics, even till receipts, right? They're coated with a film, like a chemical film that is, as soon as you touch that, it's absorbed into your skin,
yeah,
right? And as part of what they're spraying onto that is it triggers estrogen production, right? It reacts with your body to produce estrogen,
mm,
and in a man, if you're producing excess estrogen, that's going to be problematic, or estrogen, however you pronounce that.
mm,
The thing that I looked at today on a podcast that popped, well, it wasn't a podcast, it was like an informative like video documentary about falling levels of testosterone, and one of the things that came up there is cholesterol. And I found this really, really interesting because when something goes tick and it's like, oh, that's interesting, right? Well, they tell us that cholesterol's bad for you, right? There's too much cholesterol, and everyone's running on high. You all need your statins to combat the cholesterol. Anyway, there's two things that cholesterol does which are extremely useful for men specifically. But I mean all humans, but men specifically, is that one, it produces testosterone. So it's part and parcel of bolstering that and maintaining it. The other thing that it does is it helps your brain to function better. It allows your brain to. I mean, it's fatty acids, isn't it? As far as I mean, forgive me if I'm wrong for any of this, but
right,
as I understand this, you've got fatty acids in the brain, which allows your brain to function better, your memory to function better, your long-term memory to function better. Your reflexes are improved, and there's things like this. So bear in mind all of these chemicals, all of the ways that it gets into our bloodstream, the way that it crosses the blood-brain barrier, it's absorbed into the skin, and you look at that from a perspective of somebody who wants to make the population passive and to stand them down. Well, okay, well, what's the best way to stand? So men are more aggressive, right? I think that's a fair. I think that's a fair statement. Like generally, it's a general statement. But
Yeah.
if you have a population of men that are not going to take any shit and are not going to stand for being tyrannized and put down and stood down and having their rights and freedoms removed, but you need to do that. You need your population to be subservient, compliant, and in to a certain respect docile. And by docile, I mean kind of sleepy,
Yeah.
passive, if you like. Well, the best way to do that then is through chemical warfare.
Yeah.
Which is to do exactly what I've just mentioned there. So now there's for what 20 years there's been this whole movement against cholesterol. It's bad for you. No, it's not. It's not. I would imagine there's an extreme level of that which can be bad for you.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there is no safe limits involved, but certainly I think that's one of the reasons they've got to us and dumped us down. You've got the BPA's, you've got the fluoride, and again, it's not just that. There's a load of other chemicals. You've got the woke agenda taking place in schools, colleges, and universities, which is again skewing the male-female dynamic. It's distorting it, it's inverting it. I mean, this is satanic inversion in the extreme. But one of the things it's doing is it's making men out as if we are toxic and violent and vile and abusive to women. And I'm sorry, but I suspect there is a lot of that in place
Hmm.
generally. But I think it's been massively inflated to make the male of the species look terrible. And so then
I
again,
agree.
yeah, but the reaction to that is that so some men now, in line with all of these chemicals, with all the additives in the food, with all of the medications that they're taking, it is, for want of a better word, it's emasculating them, which makes them passive, which means that they
Yeah.
are less likely to resist. And sorry, just 2 minutes, I'm almost finished with spiel because
Take your time.
do you remember in like 2021 when we had those massive protests against the lockdowns?
Yeah.
And one of the things we would often hear a lot is, "Where are the real men? Where are the men? Never
Mm.
mind where are the real, where are the men?" Now,
Yeah.
I'm going to balance it out a little bit and say that the protests that I attended personally, I would say it was about 50-50. I
Okay.
genuinely think it's about 50-50. However, um, there does seem to be a larger vocal outcry at protests and petitions and in social media spaces from women. I don't mean a massive disproportionate,
Yeah.
but there is that idea of, well, where are the real men? Why are the men putting up with this? We looked at countries like Scotland, right? And Scotland and Ireland, especially, right, which are known for being tough, hardened people, and yet when we lost our rights and freedoms during the lockdowns, they were passive. And I'm
Yeah.
not I'm not having to go at any
No,
because
I
the
agree.
English are just
I
as bad.
noticed this myself,
Yeah,
sort of independent of what we've been talking
yeah,
about. Yes, I noticed exactly the same on practically everything you've said there.
yeah. But they've got a reputation. I mean, they used to recruit them into the East India Company because they were known for their tough,
Yeah.
virulent, no nonsense reputation. I mean, if you wanted to win a battle, you recruited the Scots and you recruited the Irish, and to a lesser degree, I'd even say you recruited the Welsh. I mean, yeah, the Coldstream Guards and things like that. I think I'm not a military man, so I don't. But equally, these guys had a reputation for being tough bastards, you
Hmm.
know. And so it's like, well, what did happen to them? Why have people put up with this? And it's like, oh, right, okay. Well, if we look at it from that perspective, it's because we've all been under chemical koshes.
Yeah, I think
Which,
that's
and
been a
again,
large part of it. Hmm.
yeah. So I'll pass that over to you. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely an agenda. The battle between the sexes, men in
Mm,
particular have been massively emasculated. I mean, I agree with your observations, especially during the early stages of the COVID protests, demos, etc. Were, I mean, I noticed a huge disparity between men and women. Obviously,
mm,
more women. Even the women themselves were asking where the men were,
yeah.
and it was almost pitiful, to be quite honest. I mean, I can't say for every single gathering that I ever attended or that was taking place. was disproportionate with the male members, but I
Well,
I
again,
think
I
it's
from
different.
sorry to interrupt. I mean, from what I saw personally, I genuinely think it was 50-50. I think the women were louder.
Yeah,
Definitely the women were louder. But to say that men weren't active during that is it's a bit unfair. I think it's an unfair assessment. But equally, the women were making more noise at the time.
yeah,
But then women tend to be a bit more protective and matriarchal mummy bears for the protection of their children, right? So their children are under attack just as much as anyone else is under attack. So
yeah,
it makes sense to me that they would be more vocal because of that. But again, if we
yeah.
and it's not, I'm not trying to play into this divide because again, as far as I'm concerned, it's a psyop on both sides. They've
Oh
successfully
yeah,
managed to socially engineer a 50-50 split in the population. I mean, Mark Passio has mentioned this many times in his podcast that they've basically managed to like turn one half of the population against the other half.
yeah.
I mean, that's it's evil genius, isn't it? I mean, that's Bond villain on
Yeah, it's
steroids.
all evil genius. I mean, we've been caught with our trousers down. We've been caught
Yeah,
sleeping, sleeping on
yeah,
stag, and this is the result. Well, we're being infiltrated, and we're currently getting our asses whooped
yeah.
by a more superior enemy. So,
It's a bit.
I've got no kind of argument with the differences between men and women, and but the proof is in the pudding. I mean, what I
Mm,
observed, certainly, like I said, the early days of the early 2020s were a disproportionate amount of women compared to men. And as you say, women tend to be more intuitive and have got a little bit more nurturing capacity than the average bloke. So to be honest, a lot of blokes kind of just let things slip. I think sometimes they're like,
they want the easy life, right? They want they
yeah,
just want they want, and I get that to a degree, but equally, men generally tend to be the warrior class, right? So
yeah,
when you're under attack, you kind of expect the warrior class to take over, right? But
exactly. But in
where are
this
they?
case, I mean, I don't know if it's just a cultural thing or
Mm,
a sign of the times, but it's taken a long time to provoke you know, the bears into getting angry, really. And in essence, I don't think a great many of them are angry enough to carry things forward into whatever level might be required. And I mean, for the record, I don't wish to see any sort of violent encounter. But if it comes to preservation of life or limb or rights or freedoms,
hmm
then I've got no objection to the use of physical force, even if it comes to it. Now, I'm not saying that's what I want to do, but what I'm also not saying is, well, I'm not going to rule that out of the equation, because once you rule it out of the equation, well, then you're already admitting your own weaknesses,
Well, it's a
because you're
stand
not
down, isn't
prepared.
it?
Yeah, you're not prepared to do such and such. All right, well, the enemy, if they know that or they realize that, well, that's the one thing they're going to do in order to defeat us. They'll use our weaknesses against us.
Yeah,
So I, for one, would not rule out the use of physical force to counter the violent and violence and force of violence and self-defense is a different thing. And again, people need to be kind of mindful of the differences
yeah,
between violence and force. I mean, violence is again, this isn't necessarily a textbook definition, but violence is the initiation of harm towards another person. It doesn't actually have to involve physical harm,
yeah. I agree.
but the use of force. Well, force is to counter violence being used against you in a self-defense means. So, self-defense, of course, is one of the fundamental principles of the universe, along with the non-aggression principle. And if you can meet those two criteria in the required level, then essentially you're doing what nature intends. And of course, we advocate for nature under natural law.
Yeah.
Natural law. You could even put a caveat saying, well, the golden rule is one principle to bear in mind. Do unto others that which you would have others do unto yourself. Treat others as you'd like to be treated yourself. And if you can do that, and if everyone can do that, well,
Yeah.
it's so simple. but the world would be a completely different place. But obviously, we're kind of steering off that mark, um, which is why the world's in, you know, in
It,
the turmoil it's facing.
yeah, but again, I mean, it's very clever the way that they've done this because they've entered certain parts of the control mechanism in at certain points. So it's basically the drip, drip, drip method, isn't it? It's a boiling frog. They introduce a little bit, get the population used to it, introduce another little bit, get the population used to it. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things that I always used to look at in terms of this was computer games. And again, I'm not mocking computer. I play computer games. Ironically, it's usually sort of strategy games or puzzle solving
Mm.
games. Like
Yeah.
anyway, in various degrees. Um, but if you look at things like I don't know, say like role playing games and Call of Duty and stuff like that, to me that was mind controlled in action. That was getting people to accept certain scenarios
Mm.
to fight for them and mentally to accept that as an outcome.
Mhm.
Um, which if you then get addicted to a computer game, well, what you have effectively done is stood yourself down. So there's a lot of men out there, and again, I'm not. This is not an attack on men. Before I want to make that clear before I get accused of anything. But there's a lot of men out there that get hopelessly addicted to computer games, especially when they're in their adolescence, when they're in their teens. I did,
Yeah.
right,
Hmm.
and it ruined my childhood. I reckon to a point. I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, but one of the things that I wish I could undo is I got hopelessly addicted to consoles and computers, and I went down that route, and it takes all your time up, and so you end up living in a digital world,
Yeah.
whilst the real world is going on in the background, and you're ignoring that to your own detriment. And of course, by the time it's got you hooked, they've already done the damage, and you can only look back and go, "Oh shit, I missed that a bit, didn't I?" I should
Mm.
I should have been on the front lines doing something against that. I should have been vocal instead of giving my attention away to smoke and mirrors and distractions, which is another
Yeah.
thing as well. I've got to bring this up because the World Cup's just started, right?
Oh yeah.
Right, bear with me again because I've got nothing against football. I used to enjoy the World Cup. Unfortunately, I haven't got a TV license. I don't intend on having a TV license, so I can't watch it. So and that's fine. But I went for a walk yesterday around the local area. In fact, I went for a drive as well before that. Saw the same thing, which is you get all this bunting and the flags and all of this football support everywhere, right? And I suspect that a lot of the football supporters are still the old school, uh, you know, guys. There's maybe working class if you want to look at it, not necessarily, but a lot of them will be working class. A lot of them will be roaring at the television and speaking out about how good the team is or how bad the team is or how much. Okay, you can decorate the streets and all this bunting and all these flags, but you can't fight for your rights and freedoms when they're being taken away you. They're being stripped from you daily.
Yeah.
Well, what is that? I mean, well done, Julius Caesar. Well done, all of those that came after him. Well done, the Romans for realizing that bread and circuses is a very real concept and it works every time.
Massively. I mean,
Yeah.
exactly. Football, it takes over the world. Yet, the world's biggest false flag incident in the 21st century, absolutely no impact whatsoever. But the World Cup, everyone's behind it. Bread and circuses, yeah, massively. I
Yeah.
mean, that's what we're dealing with. It's pretty sad. I mean, I think I'm not gauging this as a measure, but I've never been interested in football, and I've
Hmm.
often been quite bemused by lots of my friends and family, for example, are banging into football, and I've been quite bemused just watching their emotional responses when somebody kicks a ball, gets
Yeah,
a
just a bit.
corner, a free kick, and it's like everyone, oh, I didn't realize you were a football pundit, or which team did you used to manage with your expert insight into how world professional football should be conducted, because everyone seems to have an opinion on that. That's
It's
sadly
crazy
that's
though,
what
isn't it?
it is. I mean, I'm not knocking football. If people enjoy it, that's up to them.
Mate,
Um,
I'm with you. Look, I like well, not at the minute I don't, because again I'm not licensed and I'm not capitulating to the system. But I used to really enjoy the World Cup. I used to enjoy the Euros.
yeah,
I'm not overtly a football fan, but equally I can enjoy it. I can get into it. I can get just as passionate about it as anybody else, but not when there's better things at stake here. And but equally, look at what it is. Look, right. So we're dealing with the World Cup, and people have now got this pretend pride and nationalism back all of a sudden. Okay, what what are we celebrating here? What differentiates us now from any other country in Europe? What differentiates us from any other country in the Americas, in Asia, apart from cultural differences that are slowly being eroded, or if you're in the UK, quite rapidly being eroded?
Mm.
What differentiates us from anyone else apart from a different t-shirt or a different pair of shorts? What are we nationalistic about? What are we patriotic about here? Because to me, if you're going to back your team, you're backing your country, and you're backing your country because you're proud of it. But I'm not proud of my country at the minute. I don't think you're
Yeah.
proud of your country. You used to fight for these bastards, you
Oh,
know.
yeah, exactly.
And what are we living under? We're living under a discreet communist dictatorship,
Yeah.
which is very cleverly it's coming through the back door as
Yeah.
Um,
It's disguised as a form of democracy because that's what they keep telling
it's
us,
funny
and people
democracy.
believe it. It's hilarious.
Yeah,
It's like if Kim Jong Il came over and said, "Oh, don't worry, lads, tally ho, we're still running a democracy here." The people would still believe it, and it's,
yeah,
"Oh, we're gonna have to lock up your children and send people to the salt mines, but don't worry, it's democratic." Um, and people would still believe it. But oh, by the way,
yeah.
there's the World Cup. Just keep watching that.
I mean, if
Yeah,
they could take a penalty, it'd be all right, wouldn't it? But it's
exactly.
just,
So
um,
I'm with you on that. I mean, what is it we're standing for when I mean,
right.
obviously we live in Britain. So what is it we're standing for when we're flying the Union Jack or the flag of England, Scotland, or Wales, or any other country for that matter? What is it you're standing for? Is it this patch of soil means more than another patch of soil, and the people on that patch of soil are more important than the people on another patch of soil? And I get it; it's a sports game, it's not real life. But the sad thing is, a lot of people, I would almost say the vast majority of people, treat it more importantly than they do real life. And that shows
Yeah,
itself because in real life, well, you've just been subjected to totalitarian tyranny through, some form of, let's just say, false flag psyop of epic proportions. And there was very, very little dismal, ridiculous amounts of pushback, embarrassing levels of pushback. And hats off to the people who stood up and were counted on that battlefield, but the
mm,
rest of the world just not interested at all. But now the World Cup's on, yeah, you can see where the loyalties lie. It's all animal brain. It's feeding into emotions.
yeah. Just this.
Sadly,
Yeah,
the people with the animal brain, they need to step outside and they need to raise the grade a bit, step into the right ballpark. They need the human brain, the neocortex, the prefrontal lobes. They
yeah.
need to step into the higher mind, and that's the case of heart-based intelligence and information and knowledge to get to that degree. It's not magic. It's just a little bit more desire and willpower and a little bit of effort on top. And there you have it. Before you know it,
Yeah.
you can reformulate your God-given rights. I mean, your rights are no different than mine, and mine are no different to yours. And that same equation applies to Donald Trump, the Prime Minister of South Africa, the President of India. It makes no difference. Everyone's got is assigned in nature the same rights. Period. Full stop. What makes anybody more superior? Mind control, cult behavior.
Exactly right. This is what I want to actually. I was thinking of this that what are we dealing with here when we're talking about the World Cup, when we're talking about football and sports and bread and circuses and people getting addicted to certain things. What are we dealing with here? Because to me, and you've just said it, which is a fantastic segue into this, which is cult mentality and cult behavior.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is. They're little exclusive groups that they think are superior to other people's little exclusive groups, and then that then brings an air of, oh, I'm special. you know, that we're different, we're special, we're better than the others. And I mean, if you want to call it thug behavior as well, I would even say it falls into that. Um, I,
Yeah,
I,
I mean, it is. I mean, essentially, the average person, and I've been in that position myself, so I totally, understand it.
yeah,
Um, I was under the belief that I'm inferior to my superiors because look at them, they've got badges, they've got
yeah, they've
uniforms,
got the
they've got
chevrons, they've got
positions.
their awards and their
Yeah,
medals and all of the rest of it. Yeah,
and I'm not just speaking about the military system here. Obviously, there's a massive pecking order in the military system, and
yeah,
very much know your place. But everybody strives to raise that. I mean, that's one of the driving forces behind the military is everybody wants to get out of being inferior so they can empower themselves by basically having the other people inferior to your position, your dominance. And I must admit, as when I went through the ranks, I was people would often say that I needed to be more of a bully, more dominant over people. I'm like,
yeah,
well, if I ask somebody to do something and they do it, well, that's the objective achieved. So why would I need to shout or bellow or all the rest of it in order to do that? But of course, because it's a fear-based system, you could say,
yeah.
and that's what society is to a large degree. It's a fear-based system where
Massively fear-based.
and we're of the disposition of a belief. We're in a belief system because we believe this to be true. We don't believe that our rights are as equal as anybody else's. I mean, because we've got all of these systems and crazy organizations in place. The government, for example, is an obvious choice, but we've also in Britain we've got the royal family, for example, and a lot of people
What's
still.
left of them?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even though most people think they're just a bunch of clinger-ons, a useless bunch of socialites, which to a
Yeah,
large degree they are, but people hold them in high esteem. Why? Because they've got glittery
right.
gowns and sparkly ballrooms, posh blinking cars and gardens and castles. And of course, we all automatically think that these people are above human. It's a belief system, and where we need to acknowledge that we are in a cult, the cult of government, the cult of authority. We
Yeah.
need to step outside of that belief system. But it's definitely worth elaborating on cult behavior. You
All
know,
right. I'll tell you what then. Let's go through. So just keep talking a sec, because I think what we need to do then is highlight the characteristics of a cult, if you like, so that we can
yeah,
outline it. We can and then whoever's listening in, they can compare it to what's being said and decide for themselves whether they're in a cult, whether they're affected by a cult, whether let's. Do you fancy going through a couple of these
yeah,
while we're
go
at it?
for it. I mean, I haven't got Fake Awake to hand, so
Oh,
I'll
shame
have
on you,
to.
mate. Shame on you. I've restocked. I've got
I
some
can see there
promotional
was
stuff
that.
to do as well.
Yeah,
So I've got a load. There's more behind that, but I've got a couple of Wayne's books as well. So I'll go into that. Right, cult characteristics. So again, for anyone who's interested, this is in Stephen my book, Fake Awake. You can find it all in there in chapter 13. So. Cult characteristics. So the first one that I've written down is absolute authoritarianism with zero accountability. So I'll read this out and then we can discuss it. Typical dark triad personality traits: narcissism, sociopathy, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, combined with magnetic charisma and charming personas, and voila, a monster in a suit operating behind a mask of benevolence. A tyrant with absolute authority over your thoughts, actions, and beliefs. Right. So there we go. First cult characteristic is authoritarianism. Well, where do we see that lately? Authoritarianism.
well,
Media,
we've got
politics,
yeah,
government, church,
government for
maybe?
sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything you want to add to that, or do you want me to continue with it?
No, continue, mate. That's yeah, good start.
Brilliant. Again, if you want to pull me up on any of this, it's absolutely fine.
Mm-hmm.
And we can discuss it. Second characteristic is zero tolerance for criticism or questioning.
Mm.
Right. And I don't know how long that section is. I'll read a little bit of it. Any deviation is considered an act of apostasy, right? So, in other words, if you question the leaders or the policy, if you like, of
Mm-hmm.
your cult or of your authoritarianism, um, you'll soon see that you become quickly ostracized, right? And again, you can take certain religions for this. You can take certain political parties. If you step outside of the party line, if you don't toe the party line, if you go slightly against something because of your conscience, because of your ethics, because of your morals, you'll quickly find yourself isolated, ostracized, and kicked out of that particular dynamic.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we can apply that to again politics and religion, absolutely. Sports, oh, you're not on our team. Well, we hate you then. We're not gonna. What are you doing in our pub? Get out of the
Yeah.
pub. Stuff like that. But equally, I'm going to apply this to something a little bit closer to home for you and I, which is this the truth movement.
Yeah.
Because now
Totally agree.
now what are we seeing? Like wide scale globally is we've splintered off into little groups. And again, I'm not going to attack any particular individuals in this one, but
Yeah.
let's take the New Age movement, which I would consider at the minute to be one of the most toxic, misguided, delusional
Yeah.
groups
Yeah. 100%.
possible, right?
Yeah.
And as soon as you go against anything that they believe, whether that be manifestation, whether that be negativity, whether that be, oh, we mustn't be angry, whether that be, again, take your pick. You've got the new age, you've got your happy, high vibe spiritual types. And we've done podcasts on this many times. So if anyone doesn't know what we're on about, go back and watch a few. To me, it is now taking the place of a cult. And what do you see? I mean, I spend a lot of my time on YouTube doing research and watching stuff and learning. Anyway, there's so many new age bullshit practitioners on there that
Oh, yeah.
absolutely fit the bill of a charismatic leader spinning in people a yarn, and anybody who doesn't fit with their particular narrative, out you go. We're going to demonize you. We're going to mock you. We're going to criticize you. All right. Well, now it's our turn. We're going to defend those people that you just mocked and criticized, and throw it right back at you. I'm going to
Yeah.
mention someone actually that drives me up the. Can't help swear. See, the alcohol's kicking in. I'm swearing again. There is a woman. Just bear with me. On YouTube by the name of Elizabeth April. Right now, I wasn't familiar with this particular woman. And in fact, it was a friend of mine, Wayne, who's written a couple of books. I've published them for him, and he came round a couple of weeks back, and he just went, "Oh, I've got one for you." I said, "Oh, what's this then?" He went, "Well, you love all the new age stuff." I was like, "Yeah, go on." He said, "Have a look at Elizabeth April." And I was like, "Oh, can't be that bad, mate." 402,000 subscribers.
Oh,
Right?
really?
Yeah, yeah, right.
Impressive.
And she claims to be a remote viewer.
Oh, yeah.
She claims to be in touch with, wait for it, the Galactic Federation of
Oh,
Aliens,
yeah.
right? She claims to be able to manifest, to remote view, to all of that stuff, all of the fluff, all of the love and light. Anybody who's fallen for that, and believe me, there's a lot of people falling for that.
Hmm.
You got problems. I mean, this is cult 101. I mean, you've got it. I mean, to be fair, she's attractive, so I think a lot of people will watch her because of that, and they'll be drawn in to that angle. She's confident. She puts it across as if she's an authority. I mean, there's no qualms about lying through her teeth at this point. She's quite happy to deceive and divert people's attentions and to claim that all of this is true without a single question of challenge or
Yeah.
and people buy it up like they can't get enough. And anyway, I mean, to me, it's sickening. I mean, it really genuinely isn't. And I'm only picking on her because of the sheer audience number that she manages to achieve.
Yeah.
Um,
So what's her name?
what
Elizabeth April.
Elizabeth April,
She
mate,
American by any chance?
it's crazy. And yet, so I think if we were ever so inclined as to want subscribers,
Yeah.
basically we need to change our tactics and just bullshit people into oblivion
Oh,
because
yeah.
it seems to work.
Yeah. Tell them what to hear and, blow smoke up their arse and come across as if we're the fountains of all knowledge on anything mystical without any evidence whatsoever. And, it's a winning formula.
I couldn't. I couldn't contain myself when she's mentioned she's been communicating with the Galactic Federation of Aliens, obviously in the astral realm, because why wouldn't you? Because you don't need proof in the astral realm, do you? And you know, she's meeting all these representatives from all the different systems and galaxies and stuff. My first question is, all right, great, prove it then. Prove it. Prove
Yeah,
anything. Even if it's just, you know, an after effect of what they're allegedly. Show me what they're doing. Tell me what they're
yeah.
doing, and then prove it to me.
You know what?
Never can they prove it.
Isn't it funny how all of these, let's just say, representatives from different galaxies, advanced beings, angels of light, all of these things,
Hmm.
none of them ever say, oh, the answers to the problems here on Earth are align one's thoughts, emotions, and actions to truth and principle of objective morality, follow
Right.
the non aggression principle, counter that with a self-defense principle as
Yeah.
required, if and when required, and also, educate yourself and others on natural law and the occult philosophy that helps to you know hammer that home. But none of them ever say that. It's like, oh, well,
No.
that's the answers. If you do that, that's an excellent place to start, and you'd probably find that, well, lots of your problems would kind of start to disappear. I'm not saying all problems on Earth would disappear. That's ridiculous, a ridiculous notion. But large portions of them are. I mean, for example, as many listeners maybe know, I used to be in the army, and I used to be a soldier, an infantry soldier, whose job involved, death and destruction. But after having an understanding of moral philosophy, I kind of come to the realization that actually what I was doing was fundamentally wrong, and it
Hmm.
didn't matter what the organization or what my job entailed, because my job cannot override the laws of nature.
Right.
So, and then this goes for all police, all military, all hospital workers, all government employees. Essentially, if
Well,
your
even
job,
so I was going to say, sorry, mate, to cut you off, but even hospital workers now, you're on about nurses. I mean, courtesy of COVID and 2020, I mean, all of that turned into a cult.
of course,
It's a
yeah,
cult in
massively
summary, but that's
secret,
that's a cult now, isn't it? That's like
yeah,
you're not allowed to say anything negative about them, because then
yeah,
then you don't appreciate the free healthcare. Well, actually, no, I don't appreciate your free healthcare, because all you're doing is prescribing toxic pharmaceuticals to people, making them ill, and then profiting by it. So no,
yeah.
I don't appreciate it, and it is a bloody cult, you know.
Yeah, I
So
mean, a
sorry to,
lot of
yeah.
some of the jobs that I've just mentioned, and it's that's not exclusively those. It's
Hmm.
practically librarians, shop assistants,
Yeah.
etc., etc. Have a look at your actions and your behaviors or your thoughts um, during that period when there was like lockdowns and like health emergency actions, etc. Have a look
Hmm.
at your actions, behaviors, your thoughts, your emotions, and see how the average thoughts, emotions, actions, and behaviors of, let's just say, the Gestapo during
Just a bit, yeah,
Nazi Germany,
massively.
and
Yeah.
let's see if there was any distinction or any difference there. Because I'm telling you now, there's very little difference. Because another thing I would maybe hasten to add there is, if you have to counter anything that you do in your workplace role by saying, I'm just doing my job, which
Hmm.
is something that coppers say all the time. Let's face it, coppers
Yeah.
say this probably on a daily basis. The same
Yeah.
principles apply to me as a soldier. We're just doing our jobs. In other words, nothing's in there. Absolutely no thought whatsoever is being engaged out in the real world, because I'm just doing my job, and my job says pull the trigger or perform whichever action. Well, none of these things. In fact, I'm going to say, if you have to say I'm just doing my job, there's clearly something morally. I'm going to say there's probably something morally
Yeah.
wrong with that equation. You have to look a little bit deeper at inwardly
Well,
and in what's going on.
what if you look at that mentality? I was just doing my job. Okay, well, the Nuremberg trials that brought that up quite a lot. I was just doing my job. I was just following orders. Yeah, and you just committing war crimes, and you just committing genocide, and you just committing unspeakable acts of violence and depravity. So don't give me that shit. You were just doing your job. To me, it's an excuse, right? And I suspect you as much as myself, right? I've had so many conversations with people that when it comes to order followers and order givers, you say who's the more culpable here? Who's the ones responsible? Now, my ideal response is they're both responsible. But if you've got one commander, one captain telling 100 people to carry out an order that's unethical or criminal or whatever, take your pick, right? Then if you've got 100 people without question complying with that command, who was the more culpable? Because it's not the one giving the order. Because if the ones that were following it, carrying it through, if they said no, then the one giving it is in a bit of a quandary, isn't he? He's going to have to step back and go,
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
what fear and coercion tactics can I use next? All right, I'll do that. And if
Yeah,
if the answer's still no, we're not doing that because it's bloody wrong, then what's he going to do? He's got no option but to stand down himself. Which
yeah,
I mean, if we look at cults and if we look especially the New Age, to me, it's the biggest standout operation going. Don't worry, don't get angry. Don't look at
yeah,
the negative. Don't look at the dark side of things.
yeah.
Definitely don't look at your shadow self and look at your own
Oh, yeah,
flaws
yeah,
and vices and things like that. Don't fall into that kind of shadow work. Whatever you do, you might learn something and make yourself useful. It's a stand down. But
it's a massively successful stand down. I mean, to the point. I
just a
mean, I
bit,
totally wholeheartedly agree with you on the New Age movement as a whole. And again, there might be individuals who can maybe bend
yeah,
that a little bit, but as a whole, the whole New Age movement is massively combat ineffective. And even though
yeah,
they probably don't feel it and know it, they're in one of the biggest and strongest cults out there because if you can effectively tell people very gently and easily to basically not apply, let's just say the
yeah,
self defense principle, which is essentially and effectively what the New Age movement doesn't get whatsoever. The self defense principle,
absolutely,
totally unable to defend themselves from any, let's just say, any force of action that might be conducted upon them. And I'm not just saying violence, not just saying
yeah,
violent use of force against them, in terms of physical harm. They're getting persuaded to do something, manipulated, coerced, deceived, etc.
yeah,
And because they're too fluffy, soft, and sensitive, then they're just totally incapable of formulating
yeah,
or even understanding how they can, push back or resist at all, because they're totally combat ineffective. I
yeah,
mean, they are in a cult. And I mean, when I was in the military, I was in a cult. So all classic signs of cult behavior. I mean, one part of cult behavior, from the cult members is kind of an intense devotion to the
yeah,
either aims or the objectives or the leadership of the particular cult. And that you see
yeah,
that same as an example of that. If you look at the cult of international football, well, let's just say the people watching the games who are so intense and passionate over the success of their team, even to the point where they can micromanage every single action taken by every single player.
I mean, it's like they're there. It's like they're all employed as like side managers to
Oh yeah,
to overanalyze and critique the players in the game as if they could do any better. Come on, please, whatever.
yeah.
Right?
And to be honest, most of them they've drank several cans of this. Not I can't really talk here, because here's me
Oh,
sucking
I
on
mean,
me.
I finished my toxins. I
I
finished
mean,
my monatomic mercury brew.
brilliant.
I've now enlightened through it. So, um,
Well, they
I've
drink
just
several cans of beer, and then and to be honest, I'm going to guess a large proportion of them are in no shape of fitness to keep up with any of the players on the pitch in any way, shape, or form. But they seem to have all the answers.
oh,
So,
absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't they?
if you're a footballer, please listen to the average Joe Soap at home who's watching the TV, watching the
Especially if they've
football.
got a big beer belly, and clearly they know better than you do, and they could perform better than you do on a pitch. I mean, take notice of them, definitely, especially in yeah. Um,
So
it's
that's cult
crazy.
behavior, though, isn't it? It's cult
It is.
behavior.
It is though. I mean, it's massively cult behavior. I'm going to read some more. Right. Let's
Yeah,
let's let's go through some more because I think this is a good
yeah,
this is a good one to go through. Right. Okay. There's a fair few in here anyway. Right. A lack of I'll try that one. See, it's the brew. Right. A lack of meaningful financial disclosure regarding the budget. Now I'm gonna expand that out, not just financially, but I'm gonna say a lack of meaningful disclosure. Full stop.
Mhm.
Who's pulling the strings behind a lot of people these days? You know, a lot of the public figures, especially in the New Age movement, and I'm going to say it's basically a form of Satanism. If you look into it, you will find that it lines up with Satanism in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
But you know, they don't tend to disclose much. In fact, when they're asked to disclose things about their funding or their objectives or where their information's coming from, or even if they're asked to provide evidence and things like this, their very first retort is, again, victim blaming, right? Oh, you're just negative. Oh, you're not seeing it correctly. Oh, that doesn't work that way. Oh, that's just you thinking, you know, you're extreme left-brained or something along the lines of that. So to me, if they're covering something up or avoiding answering certain questions, that to me is a massive red flag in and of itself, isn't it? You know. So
Yeah,
in
massively.
terms of cult behavior, I'll move on to the next one because I mean, again, that one speaks for itself. Unreasonable fears about the outside world that often involve evil conspiracies and persecutions. Now, let's go into that one a minute. Where have we seen that everywhere in the last 5 years, 6 years, maybe? You know,
Mm.
I'll come back to it. But if we look at a fear of the outside world, right? Truthers, and again, this is not to attack a movement. I wish it was moving.
Yeah.
I wish there was truth in it at the minute. I wish we were united, but we're
We're
not.
just being like football fans coaching an international team of superstars. That's what we're doing, isn't it? We're just giving them a gentle nudge.
Oh, just yeah, nudge unit,
Yeah.
yeah.
In
Yeah,
the hope that they might hear us and then score 10 goals.
but look at what. Right, okay. Actually, this is an interesting one just in and of itself, right? We, I'm going to say we. It's not we anymore because I don't identify as one of them. Um, Truthers, conspiracy theorists, New Agers, the spiritual types. You know the
Yeah.
kind that I'm on about. Not
Yeah.
genuine spiritual types. I'm on about the fluff, the love and light.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've taken this self-exiled approach, whereas they now don't want to integrate into society at all. I mean, they still do. They still got their phones. They're still eating from the supermarkets. They're still watching the telly. They're still doing. But in their minds, they've ostracized themselves from society because they'll only eat certain foods. They'll only do certain things. They'll only you take a certain attitude or read certain books or right. I mean, take your pick. At this point, right? They have self-isolated themselves and they've sectioned themselves off into this unique mindset of, well, I am a conspiracy theorist. I am a flat earther. I am a QAnonist. I am apply label here, right? Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what the label is. And then as soon as you put yourself in that label, in that bracket, you've excluded yourself from the rest of society. So, oh well, there's them, the normies, and then there's us, the awakened. Oh wow, oh we're so, or there's them, the normies, and then there's us, truly spiritual, right? But it's not really that because you're still interacting with a society that you're claiming to be so superior to and different to in the first place. It's just you've created this us and them mentality, which really the only reason it exists is because you've created it in the first place. And so it's again, and I see this in a lot of flat Earth groups as well, whereas um, they seem a lot of them completely incapable of even questioning that they might be wrong, or taking the
Mm.
idea from any kind of opposition whatsoever. It is literally us versus them mentality. Well, to me, that's a cult. That is the definition of if you can't see it my way, I don't want to associate with you. I don't want to socialize with you. I don't want to communicate with you. You're just silly. You're just normie. You're just one of them. You're just, and it's that. And so what is that? It's a fear of being challenged. It's a fear of, um, identifying as just a human instead of like, you're no longer part of the general population. You're a flat earther, for example. And again, I'm not using this specifically for flat earthers. It's just, it
Yeah.
seems to fit. And so you've then got this fear of oh well, I don't want to look at the world the way anybody else does because I've got all the answers now, but you don't because it's to me you're afraid of being challenged, and a lot of the time when instead of taking a debate, you get aggressive and you throw it back at them, and you get defensive and deflective and invert,
Yeah.
deflect, all of that stuff. That to me is a defense mechanism which falls neatly within the cult mentality, which I find very problematic. And again, this is not just flat earthers. I mean, take your pick. We've
Yeah.
we've got people who out there now who are saying that history is fake. And again, I'll come to that, but not just
Yeah.
yet. I'm working on that one. That's a special one. I've got an interesting one for that one. But
Yeah.
equally,
Hitler as a good guy is another. I
right,
think it's
brilliant.
sort of
Just
derisive
that, just
one. Yeah.
that. Hitler's a good guy since when? I mean, are we? I mean, I'm not being funny. So if we're going to lose a few subscribers, I suspect with this one, right? If history's being faked and inverted, and the bad guys are really the good guys, all right,
Yeah.
show me some of the evidence then. Just, I mean, literally, show me the evidence to back you up, and I'll
Yeah.
listen. And then they'll say, oh, well, I watched a documentary. Yeah, all right, I watched a couple of those documentaries with you, probably. I've watched a lot of documentaries that change your perception on certain things. But that doesn't mean that the bad guys are really the good guys. It just
Oh
means that the
yeah.
good
Exactly.
guys are bad guys as well as the bad guys being. Do you know what I mean? It's not a
Yeah.
case of us
Exactly.
versus them, us versus them. It's not a case of, well, whatever they tell us, the opposite is true. Because that's splitting, that's binary thinking,
Yeah.
and reality doesn't fucking work that way. It's not a case of, oh, well, whatever they tell us, the opposite's true. No, 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 no. The only way it's effective is if they mix truth with fiction constantly. In fact, I would say the only way that they get their agendas through is if they mix mostly truth with fiction.
Mm-hmm.
You shroud it in lies, people will notice it quicker. People will spot the problems with it. Well, there you go. Anything to add for that one? I've just lost us
Do
half of
you know
our
what?
subscribers there.
I guess, yeah, I know. Well, that's one of the hardships,
Oops.
you know. I mean, I'd like to think if people are that triggered by anything you
Yeah,
say, well, keep tuning in, and maybe it'll eventually sink in, and you
yeah,
bombard us with the evidence that you've compiled of all our glaring mistakes, you know. And again, I'm not trying to say that we're the answers to everything, we know it all, because that's certainly not the
absolutely.
case. I'm sure
Yeah,
you would agree with me on that. But if we've managed to put a book together and podcasts and other things, a channel, for example, we do try our best to strive for being at least quite pertinent and accurate with information, to the best of our ability. But going back to let's just put the small hat nation, the tiny Middle Eastern
yeah. I know which one you're on about.
nation. I'm sure you know where I'm talking
Yeah,
about. ISIS, Ra, and El. Um, that again, I'm making no massive comments here, but they seem to take the overall brunt for world affairs. Now, for me, if we go back in history, we'll see that. Well, I think they've taken the brunt, and I'm not saying rightly or wrongly, by the way. I'm just saying
yeah,
they've taken the brunt for or they've taken the blame for many things. And I'll just use one example: the Black Death. The Black Death in Europe. Well, there was pogroms and people going out on basically killing whole swathes of people from a certain ideological perspective or
yep,
certain cultural heritage from that particular region um, throughout Europe during the Black Death. And
yeah,
that's just one example. Now, I'm not saying that's rightly or wrongly, but you can't blame any group of people on, let's just say the predicament of the Black Death. I'm
yeah,
pretty sure they didn't have biological weapons in those days, and if they did, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't just be exclusively to the small
no,
hat trade. So, we've got to realize that, well, our sentiments perhaps aren't that new. This has been going on for thousands of years, probably. The same idea
yeah,
of, let's just say the incorrect notions. We've got to pick an enemy. Well, let's just pick these because guess what? They've got
right,
direct Hollywood and they've got people in the banking sector, so it must be their fault. But nobody ever thinks,
yeah,
oh, what's the causal factors behind the problems in the world? Well, is it a particular nation in a small state in the Middle East, or is it worldwide? Immorality, the
right.
force of evolution sliding towards immorality amongst, let's just say, pretty much everybody on Earth. Why? Because we've embraced the ideologies of Satanism. Essentially, that's what
A
the human
lot of
race
this,
has.
mate, even within the conspiracy movement or the conspiracy theory movement within truth circles, a lot of it is that.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Unfortunately, they've fallen directly into satanic tenets.
Yeah,
And of course, a lot of them won't look at that because they won't look at information that they perceive as being the other, though, or against them. Or
yeah,
no, I'm not being funny, but especially with a New Age movement, go and have a look at Satanism and go and see how many boxes you tick because you're
mm,
practically working for the Church of Satan at this point. And I'm not, again, you and I have read LaVey, right?
yeah.
Um, I think it's a fairly well put together piece of work, actually. I'm not saying I agree with it, but you can certainly understand the logic that's used in there.
But
Um,
ultimately,
Problematic.
these people of that satanic, you know, faith, religion,
Yeah.
identity, ideology, you know, that they want to inflict sorcery and chaos
Yeah.
upon the human population, mind control,
Yeah.
to manipulate and deceive people. Why? For their own enrichment, for their own benefit, for their own selfish gains.
Hmm.
And of course, if if we do not step out of that same mindset, well, basically we're aiding and abetting them. And I
Well,
hate to
that's
say it.
exactly what we're doing. Are we not marginalizing and alienating and we've got, this is a form of xenophobia. Oh, it's well, again, without saying it because I don't want to get the video
Mm,
flagged for negative reasons, but equally, it's all right for you to scapegoat people and to make them all out to be the biggest demons in the world. But then what about the people who've allowed it to happen then? Okay, let's presume that you are right, and I don't think you are in all cases. I think there's a certain influence there, but to demonize an entire people, an entire culture, I don't think so.
yeah,
That's splitting. That's absolute
yeah.
extreme.
Especially
It's
when you think
extremism.
that
Yeah,
a lot of people, I mean, again, because they've got the title of, oh, well, where truth is, so therefore we stand in the truth. Well, it
right.
doesn't mean that you're always speaking the truth, because you might be making mistakes because you know you've got limited knowledge. I'm generalizing,
Mm,
but if you've got limited knowledge, but you've made some very firm beliefs, some,
yeah,
or you've come to a conclusion that, well, I've got the ultimate answer here, and the ultimate answer is everything's the fault of this group.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
is it really? Is that the problem? No, we haven't identified the problem yet. So if we ain't identified the problem and acknowledged it, then we cannot work towards the solution. So if
Right.
the problem's not the small hat brigade, the problem is morality. You know,
Yeah,
we need to work on morality. That's what needs to be improved, and it
yeah,
needs improved even in the truth movement, because unless the truth is are massively mindful on how what morality means and what evil is in all its forms, and how they are largely assisting it, through their own
yeah.
acts or omissions. And again, it's a hard one to swallow, because I mean, and this took me a long time to realize.
Yeah.
I
Hey,
thought,
me too, mate. Again,
yeah,
I'm not claiming superiority over any of this. I fell into a lot of these mindsets myself. I
me
fell for
too.
a lot of
Yeah,
the psyops, a lot of the extremism, and then but then you've got to question yourself, like they keep telling you, you should question yourself always. Look at yourself from within and do the shadow work and question everything. And you do, and you think, oh crap, I have fallen for that. And then at that point you're like, oh right, okay, but the moment you realize it, the moment you realize it's actually okay, because then you can learn from it and you can
yeah,
grow from that and you can evolve from that, and then you can start to spot it in other things. You can start to spot the same errors, the same tactics, the same techniques that are used here to get people to fall into these psyops, to get people to fall into these mentalities and cults. And you can pick that up, but the only way that you can do that is to be honest with yourself and say, actually, yeah, I screwed up here big time. I fell for that hook, line, and sinker. Except now I can see the faults with it. I just wish that other people were so, again, critical and open-minded enough to do that with the
yeah.
introspection of doing the
And
shadow
again,
work, of
this is
looking
where
internally.
I'm going to be hopeful here and mindful of the fact that, you know, the average truther is wanting to look at truth, etc.
I'd hope so,
Can
but
take things on board, and but it does have to be self-introspective as well. We've got to realize that we are part of the problem.
yeah,
We might not know it yet, but if we don't realize that and we haven't admitted, we haven't acknowledged that to ourselves, as, let's just say, as Mark Passio would use in his shadow work, is to look in the mirror and to be able to acknowledge and
yeah,
admit things to ourselves. If we're not at that level yet, if we can't do that and then learn from it, well, we maybe need to, you know, ask ourselves how truthful we actually are. What
Well,
scale are we on this
yeah.
truthful scale? We can't just because we've realized that, let's say, the health emergency is a hoax, and certainly certain other things that are going on in life are not, or maybe a little bit different to what we knew 10 years ago.
Mm,
Then we've really got to step up to the plate a bit here. This is where we need
yeah.
to self-analyze and again take a few steps closer to reaching that spiritual gold.
Well, a lot of it is, mate. And again, you just mentioned the shadow work there, which is absolutely essential for all of this, right? I mean, people who have not even begun to do that, that think they're spiritually awake or that they're evolved or that they're ascending to 5D. I'm not being funny. Take a step back, take a lot of steps back at this rate, and just consider like just the logic of what you're believing in. A lot of it just doesn't make sense when you really step back and have a look at it.
Yeah,
But in terms of introspection and shadow work, and you've said it brilliantly there, if you cannot be honest enough with yourself to just sit with yourself and I don't know, with a pad in front of a mirror. I mean, I don't do it with a mirror. I know that Pasio would recommend that, but
mm,
I don't like mirrors. I mean,
mm,
maybe I'm a demon or a witch, who knows, or a vampire. But I just don't like mirrors. But equally, I have sat there in the dead of night with a pad in front of me, with my thoughts, and I've just gone, right, why is that a thing? Why do I think that? Why do I act like that? Why are my behaviors like that? And where did it come from? Right? And sometimes you realize that there's things in yourself. It's like it is you. You are the problem. Not always, but and especially going back to something else you mentioned earlier about being emotionally reactive instead of prefrontal cortex. Like instead of being cognitive, a lot of people are emotional. They've defaulted to
yeah,
that mammalian brain, which is
mhm,
I'm going to think emotionally, which is not really thinking. It's a reactive state of mind.
yeah,
It's emotions taking over, um, and get upset and get offended. And we all do get upset and offended over certain things. And I know people say it's a choice, but it's often a choice that you've got to come to the realization of in the first place. Again, this is shadow work all over again.
mhm,
But a lot of the people that we come into contact with, whether that be online, whether that be face to face, or whenever, a lot of the people that get offended are the ones that think they're the most spiritually evolved. They're the ones that think they've got no ego. And my answer to that is, mate, you've got the biggest ego going. I haven't
mhm,
got a problem with ego. I've got an ego. You've got an ego.
yeah,
It's a form of identifying and operating within the realm of physical reality. You
yeah,
need your ego. I'm not saying let it control you, but at least be aware of the fact that we all have an ego and we all need it to a certain degree in order to just bloody operate in society. And
yeah,
a lot of what you've just said there is people have got into this high state of like this mentality that they're somehow better than someone else because they know something that they think the rest of the world doesn't know. Okay, you might know something that the rest of the world doesn't know, but it doesn't mean you're right. It it
yeah,
it might have opened your eyes to, I don't know, political shenanigans or the way that the media operates. Okay, that's fine, that's good. You've had your eyes opened a bit. Open them the rest of the way. Stop falling into this high and mighty mentality. We're not high and mighty. We never were high and mighty. And anyone who is high and mighty is being pedestalized. Why?
yeah,
If you pedestalize somebody, you're looking up at them, and they're looking down at you. And there's your hierarchy that you were discussing earlier.
yeah,
It doesn't work. It's got to stop. As soon as we as soon as we stop seeing other people as the other, and start seeing other people as other versions of us from different perspectives, from different experiences in life, then maybe we can actually make a bit of progress and say, well, actually, as we are all one species, as we are all one mind, really, just from different perspectives, as we are all one consciousness, or then perhaps actually we should just probably work together and get our rights and freedoms reinstated as the first form of priority, because anything else is just divide and conquer, and we're walking into it again, sleepwalking into oblivion.
yeah,
We are doing the job of the so-called elites for them. A lot of people call them parasites. It's because they feed off us, but they can only feed off us if we present ourselves as food, right?
all right, exactly.
And we do
Which
that.
we still are.
But we are, they're feeding off your energy. Yeah, they're feeding off yours too, mate.
Yeah,
They're feeding off
yeah,
your ego. They're feeding off your passive aggressiveness because you don't admit that you're angry about something. You know, you
and
you
and
are
just
isolating
because
yourself.
Yeah, and just because you've assigned the title of a truther or a a spiritual person
Yeah.
or whatever people are going by these days, well, that doesn't mean that the parasites actually give a crap. They don't
They
care
don't,
less. I mean,
mate.
again, I don't know who this quote is from,
Mm,
so you might be able to correct me, or you might know. To know and not to do anything with the knowledge is to not to know, and that's
ooh, I
where
like
we
that.
are as a movement. It might be Manly P Hall. I really
I'm not
can't
I'm not
remember it.
familiar with that one actually. That's a new
Right?
one on me, but
Yeah. Well, to know and not to do, or words to that effect, is effectively not to know. Because if you can't do anything with the knowledge, then it's pointless. So
right.
if we're all worldly wise and we know this is a hoax, or this is a psyop, or this is going
Yeah,
on, or the dark agenda, etc., etc. Well, yeah. So what we're doing about it, or well, we know about it, and we're handing out a few leaflets, or we're. I mean, I'd like to think people are not engaging, or they've realised that writing to their MPs not going to have
yeah,
much mission success. Then, if we're not doing anything about it, and that's the whole take, to be awake is to act upon wisdom.
yeah,
Wisdom is a
yeah,
tool of action. If we're not doing something to alleviate our plight by taking action, taking what's known as right action, that's living
yeah,
in principle and truth, then again, what's the point in knowing all this stuff? We're not
right.
really awake then. We're
Yeah,
fake awake. And I mean, that's the whole point of the book, is to come
yeah.
out of being fake awake, to become combat effective, so we can, become the stellar man or woman, to keep our feet on the ground and our head in the stars.
Exactly that. I mean, so there is. I mean, I'm going to sound a bit egotistical myself, but the idea of fake awake is exactly what we're dealing with here. And again, I've been there. I've been fake awake.
Yeah,
I've been delusional and passive and all the rest of it because you think you've got
yeah,
the answers, but then if you think you've got the answers, you haven't got the answers. Because we're all still learning stuff.
yeah,
And so it's much easier for us to be humbled and to be modest and to just say, well, actually, this is my opinion based on this information that I've come across, and I've formed it because ideologically, I'm aligned with certain principles, because I think it's the right thing to do, or I think that's the right mindset or the right approach. And if we lose sight of that, then we're lost. And a lot of people,
yeah.
the whole know thyself thing. Most people that claim to know thyself, they haven't got a clue. I'm still getting there. There's still parts of me that I'm figuring out. I
Yeah.
suspect it's the same with you and anyone else who's got the integrity and honesty to say that, we're still just working stuff out. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
hopefully we
yeah.
get a little bit wiser, we get a little bit more
It's an
information,
ongoing
we figure it out
process,
a bit
isn't it?
more.
I
Yeah, so,
mean,
sorry, mate.
and not only that, the more I know, it is. It's kind of typical. The less I understand, or the more I'm driven to learn more, because it's like, oh, I've still got lots to learn, and I think the learning
Yeah.
process has to be. I think it's probably never ending. I mean, as you can see from
Well,
the
it,
pile
well,
of
it
books
is.
behind me.
Unfortunately, it isn't. Well, your massive library. And by the way, I like the backdrop there. I mean, I know where you are because I like the room that you've got. But
Yeah.
it's no, it really works for podcasts because I've seen you on a few lately.
Oh, yeah.
And it does look. You look like an intellectual now, mate.
Oh, just
Yeah,
it looks
you've
real
joined the
from a
book club.
distance.
No,
I
it's
can
it's
put a real thing behind you, so
well, I know, but yours actually it looks really 3D. I mean, I'm looking at it there and thinking actually that is really, really convincing. But
it's not
I mean,
bad,
to
I
be fair,
guess.
you've got loads of books. I mean, you have genuinely got loads of books. So,
I
you know,
need to read them though. That's the trouble. I must admit, I find myself that busy with little projects and
oh mate,
the occult academy and what have you. That I've got
yeah. But
little time of my own.
look, I'm gonna credit you again here with the Cult Academy because I've got reasons that I've not been on there lately, and I'll go into that a
Mm.
little bit. But you've kept it afloat, and I tell you what, we've got a fantastic community in there. So if anybody does
Oh
want
yeah,
to learn about natural law, the occult, of the esoteric nature of reality, the mysteries, or anything like that, get yourself over to Occult Academy. If you go onto our website, nathanlucius.com, theoccultacademy.co.uk. I've butchered that one. It's occultacademy.co.uk. If you go through the website, you'll find a tab directly for the Occult Academy. which has now been updated and polished. So I'm happy with the state of the website now. But if you go there, you'll find a link that directs you straight into Occult Academy, and then you can interact with Steve and myself and all the other great people in there. And I think we have got a fantastic group in
Yeah,
there.
it's good.
Really great group. So
I'm probably a few weeks behind. I'd say behind. I've not put much on in the last 3 weeks or so, just simply
yeah,
because I've
but
been
you've been doing stuff, haven't you? You've
way
been
too in
survival
survival and
courses
what
and
have you. Yeah, so I'm massively out of the loop a bit. So I need to start plugging away. Also trying to get this project that we're doing kind of completed as well.
yeah, it's we're getting you've got a bit of extra time, mate, because I got waylaid with other stuff as well. So
So
you've got a bit
right,
of extra
happy
time.
days,
But
mate.
for
Yeah.
for anybody who's interested, I don't want to give it away too much. But if you are part of Occult Academy, there is a book project that Steve and I are working on at the minute. There's a few actually, but this one specifically, and for anybody who is part of the Occult Academy, I think it's going to be a nice little treat for you specifically. So well, hopefully that's the idea. So we're getting there, but yeah, you've got it's going to be September now until it's anywhere near ready to be
Oh,
released as a
happy days.
sequel. So, well, it's not a sequel; it's an independent book. But anyway,
I think
for
I'll
anyone
probably have
who's
33 chapters done by then.
so it's more than I've got done, mate. But oh, he's gone. He's manifested himself out.
Just got out.
Well, so I've been absent at the from Occult Academy for a while. In fact, I've been absent from the podcast for a while because I've come off my pharmaceutical. I'm gonna have to give the full version of this, right? So I was on a drug called pregabalin. So for anyone who is not familiar with that, anyone who's on gabapentin or pregabalin or pregaba, however you want to call it, it's a drug. It's a pharmaceutical drug that basically relaxes your nervous system. I think they also use it for epilepsy and as a painkiller, as a pain reliever, things like that. I took it for anxiety because I find it difficult to socialize. I find it difficult to interact with people a lot of the time. Anyway, Holly's been at me for at least a year now to come off it. She said, "Look, it's killing you," and I'm like, "No, it can't be that bad." She said, "It's killing you." She said, "Look at the symptoms and side effects you're getting. Your heart rate's pounding all the time. There's a lot more to it than that." Anyway. I didn't want to be on. I don't want to be dependent on pharmaceuticals anyway. So I thought, right, okay, um, I'll try it because I came off it once. I went cold turkey a couple of years back, and then because I've got asshole neighbours who like to party all night, I went back on it as a way to relieve some some stress and anxiety. Anyway, I wish I didn't, but I did. So I've been back on them for about 5 years. So the last 6 weeks, I've basically been forced into coming off them anyway. I mean, again, the idea was to come off them, but um, my doctor's surgery got in touch with me, and I've not been to doctors for a long time. But anyway, they got in touch with me. They said we would like to do a medical review. Anyway, I went through a couple of things with them, and they said, right. As for the pre-gab, and I said, yeah, I want to come off it, and they said, oh, right, okay, good, because you're on file as coming off it. So they tapered me off it a little bit, and then obviously now I've been off it for 5 weeks, and it's my God, the withdrawal is horrendous. Can't sleep. You're itching all the time. Your mind's it's like you're not here, but you're unfocused. You're anxious. All of this stuff, and Jesus, it's an absolute fucking nightmare. But anyway, I'm off it, and I've been off it for 5 weeks. I'm hoping that the withdrawal's going to even itself out. And I thought it had started to, but it seems to be taking its toll. So just for anybody who's watching, who's wondering where the podcasts have been the last couple of weeks, yeah, I've been in severe withdrawal, and it's not been a pleasant journey. So there is a lot more coming. There's books in the works. There's podcasts. We've got websites going now. There's a lot. We've got events coming up as well. There's one in September. I might give that a shameless plug at the end of this, or stick an advert
Yeah,
up.
But
Anyway, so that aside, so for anyone who's on big pharma still in this particular movement, anyone who doubts the fatal nature of pharmaceutical drugs for long-term use, yeah, I mean it's quite horrific. So if you can get off it, but just be careful when you do it. But equally, you'll feel, ideally, I mean, my brain seems to be a lot clearer than it was, and there you go. So unfortunately, I just can't
Hey, good
sleep.
for you, mate. Have you has
Mm.
Holly recommended any sort of herbal uh,
Yeah,
remedies, I guess?
yeah. Holly's what was I calling it? Yeah, basically what I was drinking earlier. That's got about 20 different ingredients. It's all herbal. It's all from like plants and trees and berries and stuff. And it's just there's a mix of stuff in there. Some of it relaxes you, some of it helps you sleep, some of it's there's a lot of herbal stuff in there. The only thing is because it's got a bit of alcohol in, um, I've got to be careful I don't trigger a headache, and then because then that just causes another problem. So
Yeah.
but
Hey, mate.
anyway, yeah, there's but either way, I don't know the full extent of this, but by the sounds of it, they're actually outlawing pre-gab.
All
I
right.
know it's a controlled substance. So whenever you go and collect it from a pharmacist, it comes with an orange label on it. You have to collect it on a like within a certain time frame. You've got to sign for it, and it's a really really
Hmm.
um high end drug, I suspect. For creating or producing GABA within the brain, which basically puts you in a relaxed state. But
Hmm.
it's when you look back and you think, oh God, I wish I'd never touched it in the first place because I've probably made myself worse long term for being on it
Yeah.
than I would have been if I'd looked for short term solutions. I mean, you often hear about people in the health scene saying diet and exercise. And when you're young, you just think, no, no, give me the drugs. I want the
Yeah.
shortcut. But actually, do you know what? In the last 4 or 5 years, I've been doing a lot of weights and walking and things like that, and it actually does help. It does help to produce endorphins and serotonin, things like that in your body. And it is a natural um therapy, I guess. It does make you feel
Yeah.
better. It does improve you,
Yeah.
and
Sure.
and it gives you the chance to improve mind, body, and spirit all at the same time. Because if your body's working more effectively, your blood's working more effectively, your respiration system's working more effectively, your body will clean itself out, which means your brain's going to be more effective. So all around it, but then we know the dangers of pharmaceuticals. It's just that some of us fell into the trap long ago, and it's taken a while. Anyway,
Yeah.
you're looking
Hey,
a bit knackered there, mate. Are you all right for another
oh,
five,
I'm
ten
okay.
minutes?
I mean, I might look a bit warm. I've taken my shirt off because I don't know if it's the same down your end, but it's pretty warm
Roasting.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Look, you look a bit flushed, but then again, my neck earlier was really red, so it was just I've got a massive fan on my eye, mate, but I'm melting here. Right, let's go back to the
yeah.
cult
What
stuff. Let's see if
symptoms
we
of
can.
cults
Yeah.
behavior?
Here's one, and again, I don't know whether you saw this in the military. I know that certain religions would see this. Certainly, certain groups will recognize this one, which is so here's another characteristic, basically a belief that a former follower of the cult is in the wrong. So basically, if somebody walks away or
Yeah.
has become ostracized, it's because they were wrong. It's because they've been misled, or because they fell into the illusion, or Satan's got their soul or their spirit, things like
Mm,
that. So the idea is that once they've been ostracized for leaving, it's because that they were wrong and they were never legitimate. They were never in the cult for the right reasons, or the group. That they were basically never authentic. They were never legitimate. They were never one of us, and so that's why they left. Which again, bringing this back into the truth movement. We've been ostracized by a fair, I'm going to say a fair amount of groups,
yeah.
because a lot of my views, a lot of my opinions have changed in the last couple of years, and people say, "Oh, well, you've got to stand in your frame." Yeah, okay, stand in your frame, but equally, if you can't realize that you're wrong about certain things and change your mind to reflect new information, there's something wrong with your mind. You've fallen into some kind of stagnant uh, mindset that's become rigid, that's become inflexible. And it's exactly that. So again, people being ostracized because they were never one of the group, or because they were never authentic, or they were never legitimate and genuine. So that's another trait. We've got mental, emotional, and sometimes physical abuse of members, which I mean that one speaks for itself. And again, I mean, see the previous couple of characteristics of cults. If you don't fit, effectively you get bullied, you get mocked, you get
Yeah.
coerced. A lot of the times you get shamed into believing certain things, or shamed into accepting
Yeah,
certain narratives, and if you don't go along with it, then people are, oh, what, you don't believe it? Oh, you still believe that? Or what, you
yeah.
don't understand that this is a thing now? It's like, well, no, I just disagree with you. It's not that I don't understand it. It's not that so there's a lot of shame tactics going on.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
massive. I mean, it's all about conformity, essentially, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I mean,
Right. Okay. Sorry, I've cut you off there. It's
oh, no
about
worries.
conformity. What truthers pride themselves on being independent thinkers, critical
Yeah,
thinkers, right? And they say, oh, you mustn't comply with authority. You don't comply with this. You don't. And yet, they're all in groupthink. Well, not all. Again, that's a bit unfair. I'm not
yeah,
speaking about all truthers, you know, worldwide. But a lot of them, it is hive mind mentality, pretending that it's independent.
yeah.
And so many people fall into this. I mean, how many? Again, look at, oh well, he doesn't believe the same thing I believe, therefore he's not one of us. Well, no, but we are ideologically aligned where our rights and freedoms are concerned. We are ideologically aligned in terms of bodily autonomy. We both are not just, we're all wanting to and be able to speak freely, to travel freely, to think freely, to have our own opinions. Whether we disagree or not is irrelevant at this point.
Mhm.
But a lot of the groups now, it's turned into this extremist. If you're not one of us, you're one of them, and that's not true either. Again, it's all splitting. It's all a form
Yeah,
of
that's
myopia.
yeah, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Or ridiculous things like if you don't believe this, you must be a shill.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, I've got a whole chapter dedicated to shills. Well, and I say shills in inverted commas. A lot of people don't even understand the true definition of shill. Because
Mm,
they'll say, oh well, he's a shill because he's working for the bad guys. It's like, well, okay, is that just simply because your opinion differs from theirs? And actually, maybe they're probably not working for the bad guys. It's just you've got a different opinion. Um, a shill is basically somebody who's pretending to be one of you, right? And but working against you, right?
yeah,
So in the
agent.
simplest possible terms, that is a shill. And yeah, okay, I would imagine there's plenty of shills in the movement. I don't think as many as people think.
Mm,
Again, a lot of people have just got different opinions, ideologies, beliefs, and experiences that lead them down a different path. That
mm,
doesn't make they're not shills. That doesn't make them agents. It doesn't make them on the payroll. It doesn't mean that they're Freemasons. It doesn't, etc., etc., etc. And so one of the reasons I put a chapter together on that alone is because it's become a running joke now. It's like you can't go onto a podcast and or look in the chat on a YouTube video without somebody calling somebody out as being a shill. It's just like, oh,
mm.
please stop. Please stop. Yes, there's probably a lot of shills in the movement, but don't and again don't confuse shills with Pied Pipers either, because the Pied
Yeah,
Pipers know exactly what they're doing, and they're not even hiding it. A lot of them, you're just going like they're just charismatic. They just tell a good story. A lot of them, you can't even accuse them of being shills because they're just taking her on a merry dance and a wild
yeah.
goose chase.
And I
Well,
mean that in
have a little bit
itself,
more discernment. Yeah.
yeah, that in itself is like symptomatic of what cults
God,
produce,
yeah.
basically, you know.
Yeah.
You mentioned before an authoritative, charismatic leader. Well, Pied Pipers are like that to a large extent. And
They are.
as far
Uh,
as shills are concerned, I mean, I would even say, even if 1 in 100 people in the entire truth movement was a shill, I would still say it's the least of our problems. Just so what? I mean, I invite all the shills to the
oh,
presentations, all the ones we've done together, mate. I'm sorry, mate, but I
I
should have
know.
told you, but
No,
I've
you
invited,
you, you did. Hey, look,
yeah,
look. If
Brigade
they want to come
77,
along, yeah, just
invited them.
pay for your ticket.
I
Well,
mean, obviously, I'd like to think because everyone thinks because I used to be in the forces, I was a shill or I am a shill. I'm obviously infiltrating you, Nathan,
oh,
through
absolutely, you must be, mate.
on a computer trying to write chapters for a book, etc. You know, I'm like really taking this undercover work to another level.
You're
Um,
dedicated. You're dedicated to the cause, mate, and you're getting absolutely
yeah,
nothing for it. So well done, you.
yeah. While I'm not getting paid off the government, they also sent me on a really intensive course to learn about the occult. It's like, oh, cheers. That's how deep my cover is. But
Can I
the,
can I tell you what? I'm not going to mention names. I will say that you know a few of these people, right? I've had conversations with people who I've mentioned you to, and they're like, "No, no, I don't want anything to do with that with that Soldier Steve or with Steve James." And I'm like, "Well, why not?" Well, he's a soldier, right? Okay. Well, he's a former soldier. He's not now. But oh no, well, once you're in, you're never out. Okay, well, I mean, that seems a little bit extreme to me, that. And so they were like, well, why are you associating with him? And why are you associating with I don't know, Mark Devlin? Because he gets accused of all sorts. Why are you friends with
Yeah,
Mark Devlin? I'll tell you why I'm friends with Steve and Mark and various other people, because they've always been good to me and have always been loyal to me. And I've got no doubt in my mind that these people are genuine and legitimate. And so people can take that as they want.
yeah,
You've always been decent with me. I hope I've always been decent with you,
yeah,
and the
100%.
same with other people. And it's treat how you want to be treated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which goes back to the whole common law, not common law, bloody hell, not that.
Mm.
The whole natural law thing of if treat other people as you want them to treat you, or don't do to others as you don't want them to do to you, and it's as simple as that. So okay, if somebody's convinced that Mr. A, B, and C is a shill, okay, that's fine. Have your opinions, but until you can prove it to me, stop this whole accusation run of just because you disagree with somebody, just because you don't like the company they keep, just because they might have a philosophy that you don't share with them. That
Mm.
doesn't mean the bad guys. It doesn't mean the shills. It doesn't mean the Satanists. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means probably that the person doing the accusing is a bit closed-minded, if anything.
Yeah. Plus
Um,
living in fear, I think, as well, because I mean, I couldn't care less. I mean, I've got my phone here. They can, it's probably not a,
what our very own spy devices. I mean,
yeah, I've got my
these
own
things take
tracking
everything, don't
device
they?
here. I mean, years
Yeah.
ago, long before I became even remotely interested in anything about truth and the occult and all of that sort of stuff, all the instruction I used to get in my line of work was this is a tracking device that
Yep.
you can use to phone your mates on. And I'm going back like probably 15 years, maybe more,
Yeah.
of being told that kind of information. Yeah, tracking device that you can phone your mates on, but I'm not bothered. I mean, I don't. If I'm obviously plotting it down, I mean, I'm openly. If anyone's watched Eric von Essex's podcast, where I've been invited along to, I'll openly say I want the abolishment of the police, the military, and the government. Make no qualms about it. I'll give you the reasons why. Quite happy to discuss that. I still keep in touch with some army colleagues, and I tell
Yeah.
them that they should be ashamed of themselves and they need to
I'm
leave.
sure that goes down well.
Well, it doesn't really, but it's the truth. They need to know this, and they need to know the reasons why. And hopefully, I'm trying to, you know, I wouldn't say I'm trying to, what's the words, manipulate people because I'm being upfront and honest. I've told them that the reasons they need to leave is because of X, Y, and Z, which I'm sure most people in the truth movement probably already understand what they could entail. Um, Equally, I've served notice on the establishment. Let's just say serve legal notice. Do I think it's going to get anywhere? Not really, but people need to be told, and eventually, you can't expect anybody to develop a conscience unless they've been given some sort of information to make it that way, especially if they're massively indoctrinated in cults, such as everyone in the army, everyone in the police, and everyone in the government. They're all members of cults. They all establish cult-like behavior to their particular cult asset. They need to be educated out of it. They need to be coaxed, encouraged, kicked up the arse, whatever it might be. And bear in mind, I was in that cult. I was in that cult, and I had to get a spiritual slap in the face with a wet fish before.
That's a one vision.
And I needed several boots up my arse before I could, to shake me and wake me up out of my entrenched religious devotion to my
Well,
cult.
this is it is religious devotion in a lot of sense because people as soon as somebody starts getting defensive over something, that tells me that they're invested in it to the point where they're afraid to be challenged, right? If somebody's getting defended, and again, I'm not pointing finger at anybody. I do it as well. I get defensive over certain things, but again, when I get defensive over things, I take a step back and go, oh, why am I getting defensive over that? What does that tell me about me as opposed to them? But you've got to admit though, mate, it's ridiculous to simply ostracize somebody because they might not agree with us. I mean, you've got army. I've met a couple of your army friends, and a couple of them came to an event once, and they didn't necessarily agree with what was being said at the talk. But you know what? They were civil. They were
Yeah,
decent. They didn't make a a scene. They weren't horrible. They listened. They came out and said, well, we don't agree with you, but equally, you did a good job. You spoke well. And then we had a meal and a pint.
Yeah.
And to me, that's the way it should be done.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
And even whether they're right or wrong, or whether we're right or wrong, it doesn't matter. Why should that be a defining factor on who we talk to, who we associate with, in what circles? Okay, you're going to hang around in circles of people that you've got joint interests in. That's fine, but we can't all be aligned on everything all at
Yeah.
once. It just doesn't work that way. And to ostracize people for simply having a different opinion or a different
Yeah.
experience, or because they even in some cases because they work in a certain industry. I mean, I've just said there about the medical establishment being having a cult-like mentality. Yeah, I think they do, but does that mean everybody in the medical industry is a bad guy? No, not
Yeah.
even close. And it doesn't mean that we should treat them like shit either, because then that makes us the bad guys.
Yeah.
At least you did the courtesy of saying, well, I've done my research. I've come to this conclusion. I think you're wrong. This is the reason why I think you're wrong. I'm going to give you as much information as I can plow your way. It's up to you whether you take it or leave it. But my conscience is clear, because as far as I'm concerned, I've given you the information, and that's my bit done.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
there's
I mean, just to move, I guess, in a similar traction to what you talking and discussing about there, that we are well, obviously in a war. It's a spiritual
oh
war, but
god,
it's
yeah,
also a
yeah,
psychological war, and probably more so an information war. When you've got control of the narrative, the dialectic is yours, and
mhm,
this dialectic is owned and managed by the dark occult sorcerers of this world, who've got considerable knowledge of human psychology and how the microcosm and macrocosm functions. The only way around it is to change our worldview, because our
yeah,
worldview at the moment, at this point of time, is maintaining the dialectic in their favor, because we are, foreshortened or unarmed in terms of this knowledge differential.
yeah,
Therefore, our job really is to change the worldview of a large number of people, or certainly a larger number of people, in order to gain a foothold back into this information war. We've got to
yeah,
gain more knowledge. I mean, I mean, I'm sure you'd agree as well. Occult knowledge. Why? Because occult knowledge, it talks about many things, including the philosophy of morality, and
yeah,
this is one of the
yeah,
big takeaways. I mean, the difference between right and wrong. This is still, even though it sounds ridiculously easy and simplistic, this is probably one of the biggest things that we're still getting wrong and still getting wrong in the,
yeah, yeah,
because when
massively.
you've kind of assimilated that difference into your core, and it's like, oh yeah, it makes sense. I can't do that. I can't back this particular group. I can't be in this cult of government, for example, because they're all doing wrong and I'm assisting them. So we are giving them our power and our energy, but we're doing it kind of unwittingly in a lot of cases. So what we need to do, and I'm going to have to get this out.
Go for it. Go on, go for it.
Right. Oh, wait a minute. Something's come up on my computer. Right. So I'm going to have to get this out. What we need to do is we need to switch on. We need to wake up. We need to switch on and wake up further. That's what we need to do.
Constantly. And again, a lot of people say, "Oh, well, I'm awake." Are you? What? And that's it. You stopped then, have you? You've stopped learning. You've stopped. It doesn't stop. And again, what's the oh God, I don't even know how to word this properly, to be fair. A lot of people seem to think that evidence and fact is a dirty word in the truth community. It's like
Mm.
I I'll say to people, okay, you've got this, you've got a view, okay, like demonstrate it to me, show me, convince me that you're right. Oh, well, we don't have to do that. Well, you're making a claim, and I'm challenging your claim. So actually, you kind of do. If you're saying that you're right, and you're saying that you know things, and that you know how the world works, well, then prove it to me. Show me the facts and evidence to go with it. But anyway, it's a bit of a segue, but it drives me up the wall a little bit, actually.
Mm.
But right, shall we have a look at a couple more
Oh
characteristics, and
yeah,
then
do it, man.
and
Yeah.
we go. So, because I'm aware of the time, and I'm hoping I'm going to sleep tonight, even though I doubt it. Right. we've got, so the next characteristic of a cult is records, books, articles, or programs documenting the abuses of the leader or group. Right, now I'll go into this a little bit because it sounds a bit vague. For example, guidebooks or rule books, which begins with documenting members' details and cult leaders circulating information of their choosing to the group. Right, and again, just absorb that a second. So as to control the flow of information and group behaviors. So it's whatever the charismatic leaders' words are, whatever their policies are, I mean, they do make it into a policy. They make it into a dogmatic, an outlook. Often communication is exclusive and privately circulated, and they'll also compartmentalize information as well as, certain cliques, cliques of the
Mhm.
group will get access to higher information or more detailed information or more exclusive information, things like that. The group profiting, sorry, not profiting, that'd be silly. Group profiling takes place via the use of questionnaires and application form questions. And this is an interesting one because I saw this in certain truth groups that I was part of in the early days when they were just forming and gathering, and you could, as soon as the questionnaires came out, so, well, who are you to ask the rest of the group to like give over our personal information? Who are you to do that? There was definitely a cult forming. So as to ascertain personality and inclinations of members. In other words, they're profiling people because they want to control people. And the best way to do that is to dig up the dirt, see what their personal ideologies are, see what their flaws are, absolutely hone in on
Yeah,
their vices and their personality traits or any mental illnesses they might have, any health concerns that they have. My God, if they get you on that one, they're going to use it against you.
yeah,
Psychological profiling members allows the leaders of the cult to decide who performs what role within the group and to assist the formation of the group hierarchy. And again, there we go again, hierarchy, matrix, compartmentalization, pedestalizing some and demoting others, putting some below you and some above you. And we see this all over. And this is the matrix structure that we are trying to highlight as being highly problematic society-wide, globally. Anything to add to that? Do you want me to continue, mate?
uh, I mean, what you've said there is pretty much exactly what the military does. And if any, I mean, I've only looked at this online, but if you ever look at how I'm going to say the Church of Satan again, I might
Yeah,
be mistaken. Certainly, some of the satanic religions, if
yeah,
you look at their memberships, well, basically, you've got to do all of what you've mentioned
yeah,
there. Basically, plug in all this information so they can find out about what makes you tick, etc. And obviously, if
yeah.
they've got information on you, they've they've got you sussed or they've got stuff on you that they can use against you. I would have said.
And sorry, I'm going to segue again here. So I often got accused of being paranoid because I used to say within certain groups that we were in is that we were being profiled, that we were being infiltrated and things like that.
Mm,
Um, my God, I didn't realize how true that was. I've been given a couple of books by a friend of mine
yeah,
recently about police infiltration, going back to the 60s, about how they used to infiltrate activism groups and things like that.
right.
I got halfway through the book, and it's starting to bring it into the modern period, and I'm like, oh shit, I was right. I know people who were doing exactly this, who had these, the profile of informants and infiltrators and
Mm,
people who've been, let's say, paid to profile people without necessarily being on the payroll, but they'll get paid to hand over information to the police or to the alphabet agencies, things like that. And I'll tell you what, people call me paranoid, but I was right. And
mm,
I know that sounds crazy, but I was right. And I've had confirmation that I've right on several occasions. But when you see it in a book,
mm,
and you see the tactics and the profiles and the personality types that they bring in and the techniques that they use, it's like, oh shit, it's sometimes you want to be wrong. But anyway,
mhm.
right. I'm going off on a tangent with that one. Um, Here we go. So followers feeling that they are never able to be good enough or they're always trying to be better. They never seem to um, be fully acknowledged or to be fully rewarded by the cult. So this I guess it's almost like a victim dynamic in this case. It's like the way to keep people in line is to put them in a state of fear and a state of inadequacy. So if you feel that you're inadequate and all the other group members are above you, or that you're trying to aspire to be like a cult leader or a group leader in this, in certain cases, they will put you down. They will use psychological tricks against you to make you feel worthless, unworthy, lower down. And
Yeah.
again, anyone who's got, sort of mental health issues or even physical health issues, they will absolutely use that against you to their own advantage. And of course, a lot of people at this point, if they are in this particular victim mindset, they'll want to take the exit as soon as possible because it becomes uncomfortable. Well, of course,
Yeah.
then they become the pariah. Well, they left because they were dodgy, or they left because they were, et cetera, et cetera. See, any excuse applied to that.
Yeah.
So almost done, mate. I'm gonna get to the next bit, and we'll call it a night for this one. I'm gonna give our upcoming events a plug.
All right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope
Sounds
you're
great,
still
mate.
booked in. I know it's took a while to put it together, but it's ready. So
Yeah.
anyway, right. So one more. So the belief that the belief that the leader is right at all times. So again, you can't question the authority, you can't question the policy, and you can't question the narrative that's been spun by the groups. Leadership or uh motivational speakers, if you like, or and again, sorry to offend anyone, but flat earth comes to mind here specifically for this one. um
Yeah.
and there is one more. One more characteristic of a cult that I've written down here: the belief that the leader is exclusive as a means of knowing the truth, or giving validation to people. So it is, once again, the idea that the leader is special and pedestalized and, more spiritual, more enlightened, more knowledgeable, more experienced,
Yeah.
etc., etc., etc. And so therefore anyone outside of the cult is bad, is the other, is alien. And where do we see this most? I would argue, is with certain psyops and certain groups that fall into the category of psyops, basically alienating themselves and differentiating themselves between the normies, the mainstream, if you like, or just the Joe public, because they are in and of themselves different and special. But there you
Yeah.
go.
Exactly.
Characteristics of a cult.
All
So
of these things in themselves kind of destroy any sense of personal. I wouldn't say every sense, but certainly a lot of senses of personal sovereignty and autonomy. Yeah, I mean, how can you have
yeah,
them and you're still following the whims or the will of somebody of charismatic or angry or whatever else. So groups, Tommy Robinson. I'm not just
that's a
on
good
that,
one.
but that's to me
Yeah,
that's like, well, you're obviously all cult members if you're a fanatic behind this particular chap. He doesn't say anything particularly bright. He doesn't say anything enlightening whatsoever. Um, why are you following him? Why? Well, it's basically just football hooligans. Again, I might be what's the word? Generalizing there, but it's
mm,
a similar mentality. Up in arms over basing things upon emotion and
yeah.
emotional responses. Well,
Mate, I'm actually glad you've picked up on this. In terms of Tommy Robinson and this new what appears to be a patriotic movement, I don't think it is. I think it's an extremist movement, and I understand the
yeah,
reasons why people are going into this.
oh yeah, me too.
I'm not
Yeah,
disputing those reasons, but I recently had a conversation with somebody who
yeah,
attended these rallies, and again, I understand why they're doing it. I mean, yes, we do have an immigration problem.
yeah,
Yes, the Kalergi plan is very real, but that doesn't mean that the cultures or the immigrants that are coming in, it doesn't mean that they're bad. They're still human beings.
yeah,
They're being used just as much as the rest of us are being used. And yeah, they
exactly.
probably
Yeah,
are intended to be turned on us at some point for
yeah,
political means and gain. However, there does you just mentioned Tommy Robinson there. There does very much appear to be the cult of Tommy Robinson.
yeah,
And from what I can see, mate, the only thing that it's really doing is turning Christians against Muslims, and now there seems to be an uptake in Christianity as well. I've got no problem with
oh yeah,
Christianity, just for the record. I mean, I attend a church. I
hmm,
consider myself an esoteric Christian. If anybody is familiar with the occult, they'll understand what that means. So I can certainly relate to that.
yeah,
But I don't think the solution to the immigration problem, I don't think the solution to the whole political tyranny that we're facing is to marginalize and turn against other cultures that are coming in,
Yeah.
especially
I mean,
ones that have been here for many decades.
yeah.
That they aren't.
To me, they're just falling into a massive trap
Yeah,
for them that they've made for
yeah.
themselves. Yeah, I don't want to say stupidity because that's kind of generalizing and probably a little bit disparaging, but
Yeah.
come on,
It's
you
divide and
know,
conquer all over again,
see
though,
the
isn't it?
bigger
It's
picture.
us and them all the
Yeah,
time. It's like, oh well, we'll scapegoat them, or they're the problem. Or, no, you're being used. You
yeah,
are being manipulated. Stop falling into the traps. It's not us and them. Perhaps if people took a look around and thought, well, hang on a minute, who's pulling the strings here? Who's the real bad guys? Because the real bad guys are the ones who are following out, carrying out the agendas. They're the ones making the
yeah,
policies. They're the ones that are causing the division in the first place. Not the people who we now see as other, and it's ridiculous. It's got to stop. And again, that it's a cult mindset.
yeah,
I'm going to say it's worse than a cult mindset because I think it's an extremist mindset.
yeah, yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Sorry,
And
mate.
sorry if that offends any of the Tommy Robinson fans. I mean, I'd like to be able to offer more, but keep watching our podcasts. I think
Hopefully.
eventually become ungovernable. Don't be governed by whatever Tommy Robinson and his gang are trying to push. It's all baloney. It's all divide and conquer of the lowest
Yeah.
form. To be fair, it's not even clever divide and conquer. It's football mentality, divide and conquer, as far as I'm concerned. But
I'm
thousands of
surprised at how
people,
many people have fallen for it. To be honest with you, mate.
yeah, it's got a big. Certainly seems to have a big following. He's got his little rallies and stuff going.
Yeah.
Um, but we've seen that with the New Age as well. They're getting hundreds of thousands of viewers because they talk a lot of fluffy. I was just going to say bullshit, but yeah, bullshit. So
Fair enough. Right, mate. I don't know about you. I'm getting a bit tired. I think we've done quite good for this one.
yeah,
Hopefully
it's
we
not been
haven't.
too long, and I think it's been
Yeah,
educational enough. I think.
I hope so. I hope we've raised a couple of good points or many good points. I hope we haven't managed to offend too many people. Again, the point of this is not to offend; it's to highlight. I
Yeah,
want to
exactly.
highlight the problems. It's in again, I'm not claiming any superiority. I'm not claiming to be better or worse than anyone else. I'm just saying that I can spot a problem. Steve can spot a problem. We've had direct experience with a lot of the things that we're talking about. Um,
Yeah,
and I think we're just as qualified as anyone else, basically, to highlight these things and to say, look, if we are in a war, whether you want to call that an information war or a psychological war, whether you want to call that a political war, an ideological war, doesn't matter. If you're not going to win a war, if we are separate and see other people as different and apart and
yeah,
divided, because going back to the Romans, and I don't even think it's Roman. I think it goes way back before them. The old tactic of divide and conquer works
yeah,
every time. And at the minute, we're dividing ourselves. Never mind the parasites and the elites and the political leaders and the church leaders and all of these round table policy makers and things like that. Look, we're doing it to ourselves. We're doing their job for us.
yeah,
We're not a threat to them. They're laughing at us. They,
yeah,
they think
exactly.
they
I mean,
think we're just yeah.
ultimately, there's two reasons why we're still on the losing team. The other team are better than us because they're more organized and they're more knowledgeable. I mean,
Yeah.
if you were to just take that as a simple battle dynamic, we need to be better organized. We need to be more knowledgeable. Well, both of those things are massively achievable. It just needs
Yeah.
to be, it needs to be made manifest. We need to make that happen. Of course, as we can narrow that down slightly and give ourselves aims and objectives as to how we can accomplish that. But fundamentally, that's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Again, one of the reasons for us giving podcasts is to provide that information and show how that. I don't want to use the word common purpose because it makes me sound like
They'll
communist.
jump on that
But
one straight
yeah,
away, won't
exactly.
they?
But you know, that's what they're doing. That's how all these ideologies work because they're organized and they've got you know, a common mentality to them. They're in a cult. They're in a cult, and they've got they're worshiping the leaders, and the cult magic's worked upon them. We need to get out of the cult, and the way to do that is becoming more autonomous in our own state of mind by knowledge, Um,
I think we
knowledge.
do need to differentiate our use because we're both Northerners here. We're both filthy Northerners, mate.
Hmm.
So we're not talking about the occult. We're talking about cults. So we're
Ah,
talking
yeah.
about a cult, not occult. So
Oh,
there you go. Just for anyone
if
who's
I
like, oh,
mention
I knew it.
occult, I'll do this. Whoa,
Oh, you've done it now, mate. You've done
that's
it. So put in
that's
the
gonna
land of the
get us
blind. The
into
one-eyed man
trouble,
is king, and I
Nathan.
keep saying it. Right, before we disconnect, right, bear with me because I know I'm a technophobe and I hate this shit. So I'm going to try and share my screen if I can remember where the hell that was. Share. I'm going to stick the website on the screen because I want to. Um, there we go. How are we doing that? Share. Let me know if that comes up, will you? Is that on the screen?
It's like really, really small. Oh no, that's right.
Right.
That's yeah, that's coming across loud and clear, mate.
Brilliant. Okay, that's a start. Right. So just to so for anyone who's curious, who wants to look at what we do, if anyone who wants to join our groups, various podcasts, please get in touch. If you want us on your podcast, whether you want us both on or Steve on or me on, just get in touch. I mean, Steve's always happy to do podcasts. I'd be happy to come on a few as well and insult and offend a few people. But not necessarily. Anyway, the reason I'm sticking this on the screen, so for anyone who's interested, I've got a couple of domains linked into this website. So occultacademy.co.uk is one of them. If you type that in, it should bring you straight to this, which is in league with Steve's. Well, I say it's your group. It pretty much is your group at the minute, mate, because you run it single-handedly.
All right, but don't forget you started it, so
Well, yeah, but
it's
you're the one
actually
running
your
it,
group.
so
I'm
you've got to
just
get the
like
credit for this at the minute. But
it's
anyway,
our group.
so well, no, mate, you do phenomenally, and again, there's a lot of bright people on there who contribute some fantastic material. So I will, I'll back them on that. We've got a
Yeah.
fantastic group. So for anybody who wants to join our Occult Academy, if you just click that little link there, it should. I'm going to try this. Should take you straight to that, and
Yay.
there you go. And so all you've got to do is click that and have a Telegram account and you're in. Right. So that's number one. So if anyone wants to join, get yourself over to the website and click that button there. A little bit about what we do, what we talk about, and a little bit about Steve. So I put some information about me on there, but I've not got around to it yet, but I will. Um, what else? What else have we got? Right. Last Revolution podcast. It's another podcast that I've got going. At the minute, it seems to have stalled just like the existing one. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because we've got an event booked, Steve.
Ah, yeah, yeah.
So we've got it coming up on the weekend of the 26th and 27th of September this year. Oh, my other computer's just came back on. That's interesting. Thanks for that. So again, so the poster might change in the next couple of weeks, but this is the first draft of the poster. The speakers that we've got lined up, hopefully, and we've got most of these confirmed anyway. We've got Mark Devlin, a good friend of ours. He's always reliable. He'll be there. Some dude called Survival Steve James, don't know who that is.
Hey.
Another very good friend of ours, Ben Emlyn Jones. He's a fantastic guy, brilliant
Nice
public
bloke,
speaker.
yeah.
He really is. He's dead down to earth and he's very knowledgeable. Some other weird dude called Nathan Lucius will be speaking, I guess. We're joined with Barefoot Forager. So for anyone who hasn't been following along, that is I'm going to say my better half, and hope that I don't get beaten up for that. So that's Holly. She'll be joining us for a couple of talks on herbalism and foraging and witchcraft. I think we're doing a bit about witchcraft,
Okay, yeah.
and that'll be interesting. We've got John Hamer, or at least we hope we've still got John Hamer. He did confirm with us a while back, but I've not spoken to him for a couple of weeks because obviously, been busy and withdrawing from horrible, wicked pharmaceutical stuff. And hopefully, we've got Mark Byford, aka the Bowler Hat Farmer, now put provisionally confirmed as part of this because he's agreed to join us for the podcast. However, for reasons that I can't go into, there's a potential. I'm going to say booking conflict. He may have something else to attend to at this particular time. So he's provisionally confirmed, he's provisionally booked. He's a very, very good speaker. But just for anybody who is, who would like to book and come along to the event, please be aware that Mark may not be there. So this is Mark Byford, not Mark Devlin. Mark Devlin's confirmed. So for the September the 26th and the 27th, and I really hope I've got those dates right, because otherwise, how embarrassing is that? Ticket prices for the whole weekend is £50 per person. That will change in September to the full price of, well, the normal ticket price of £70 per person. But for the moment, if you go along to the website, if you are interested in this, there's a little bit of a blurb there that'll tell you about what we're doing, what we're talking about, why we're talking about it, and what the point is. If you click this little link here, there's various links throughout the website. You should be redirected to another website where you can book your tickets. If I can get rid of that. All the way Firefox. There you go. So if you go along there, you will see a shop which you can buy tickets on. So just if you want to do that, you should be able to just go through to that and PayPal. There will be a Stripe account being linked to that as well. So if you want to pay through your bank, you can do that as well as PayPal. So whatever floats your boat. So there you go. I just thought I'd give a little bit of a push for the
definitely
for the website. That's it really, mate. So we've got that. Anybody wants to look at our various podcasts over the last couple of years, the links are all working for that as well. So go and just click on that, and there you go. Right. How do I stop sharing my screen? Stop share. There we go. And are we back?
Yeah. Back in the room, mate.
There we go. Right then, Steve. It's late again. We've done it again. I think we've just about another 2.5 hour show there. So there you go.
I think it's been fairly concise. So I don't think we've wandered a million miles off the kind of subject aim, etc. So I've enjoyed it. It's been beneficial, and it's been good to get something else out there as well.
Yeah. Well, there is more coming. So I know I keep saying that, and then like 3 weeks later there'll be another podcast. But I've got a couple that I haven't uploaded from the last time. So there's some of them coming up as well. So now I'm going to put an offer out there, and I don't know how you feel about this one. I think we've discussed it in the past. So we've got a couple of potential guests lined up.
Yeah.
That I'd like to join us. So Mark Barr's one of them.
Yeah.
Now I met a librarian in Glastonbury of all places a couple of weeks back. She's a Jewish lady, and she's an occultist. And cool. My God, her knowledge is amazing. I'm genuinely blown away by it. I got into a conversation with her. So she works in a library in Glastonbury. It's like an occult library, exclusively occult. Right. I've never seen anything like it. But I was so impressed with her with what she was saying. I said, "Would you come on a podcast with us?" And she said, "Yeah, don't see why not." So anyway, I've got the address. Cool. So if we can bring her on at some point, I think that'd be amazing as well. However, if anyone else would like to come on as a guest, or if you'd like to, I'm thinking about sticking the Zoom link out there in the Occult Academy. So if anyone would like to just like pop in and say hi and ask us a question, I don't know how you'd feel about that. Obviously, have a think about that and get back to me. Yeah. Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? So. But we, it's as an interactive. Potentially, we could stream at some point in future. See how that goes. I'm not saying for all of the episodes I want to stream it, but I think a couple of live ones might be an interesting way to go forward.
Yeah, I like the sound of that. I'm up for that. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Oh well, in that case. So I'm gonna call it a night there, Steve. Thank you very much for coming on at short notice again, because that's just how we roll, isn't it? So
nice chatting to you again, mate.
And you, mate.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed tonight. I think it's been most beneficial.
Good. I hope so. No, I hope people do take some value out of what we've said. I mean, I know we joke about offending people. Unfortunately, the reality is we do offend people, but it's not. I don't go out there deliberately to offend. Again, I'm trying to highlight things and shed light on certain subjects and try and fix certain problems that we're dealing with. Anyway, that aside, thank you very much for dealing with me. Oh, are we dealing with me? It's late. Thanks for joining me, mate. Hopefully we'll get you back on in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully some other people can join us as well. And if anyone would like us to come on their podcasts, again, the both of us or either one of us, just get in touch. Steve especially will answer his emails probably way quicker than I do, so apologies for that. Although I am getting better. Slowly better. I'm getting better there. Right, mate. All that being said, I'm going to stop the record button and I'm going to pretend I'm going to bed to sleep, even though I probably won't. Cheers, mate. Right. See you all next time.